Temporal-Fusion-Sanctuary in the heart of a world where time served as currency and creatures evolved with each passing second, Zephyrian stood amidst a desolate landscape. A temporal anomaly coursed through his veins, granting him control over time itself, yet it came at a heavy cost. The earth groaned beneath his feet, the very fabric of reality stretching and warping around him. Krona, a woman cloaked in mystery, approached Zephyrian with a sense of urgency. "The apocalypse draws nearer, my friend, and with it Nexus." The ominous name sent a chill down Zephyrian's spine. "Who is this Nexus?" he asked, his voice barely audible over the rumbling earth. Krona sighed. "He is the one who initiated this cataclysm, seeking to harness the power of time for his own twisted ambitions." Zephyrian looked around at the destruction wrought by his powers and felt a pang of guilt gnawing at him. Could he be responsible for the apocalypse? The thought was unbearable, but it weighed heavily on him. "You must learn to control your abilities," Krona continued. "Your fate and humanity's rest upon you." With that, she offered her hand, and Zephyrian reluctantly took it. Together, they set off into the ever-shifting landscape in search of answers, their journey fraught with danger and uncertainty. As the days passed, Zephyrian struggled to come to terms with his newfound powers and the fate that lay before him. He could feel time slipping through his fingers like sand, each second wasted bringing the apocalypse closer. The weight of responsibility bore down on him, threatening to crush him beneath its crushing burden. One day, while traversing a treacherous mountain range, Zephyrian stumbled upon an ancient artifact device that seemed to pulse with energy. Krona explained it was a relic from before the apocalypse, designed to help those like him harness their abilities and control the chaos wrought by their powers. Zephyrian hesitated, unsure if he could trust such a powerful artifact. But as Nexus's forces closed in, he knew he had no choice but to accept it. With a deep breath, he activated the device, feeling its energy course through him, melding with his own. The world around them seemed to stabilize slightly, and Zephyrian felt a sense of control over his powers for the first time. As they continued their journey, Zephyrian began to unlock the secrets of his abilities, discovering that he could manipulate not only time, but also the physical world around him. The power was exhilarating, but it came with its own set of challenges. He soon found himself beset by other temporal anomalies seeking to claim the relic for themselves. In one particularly harrowing encounter, Zephyrian faced off against a rival anomaly, a being as powerful and skilled as he was. As they battled, time seemed to slow around them, each second stretching into an eternity as they fought with every ounce of strength they possessed. In the end, Zephyrian emerged victorious, but the experience left him shaken, questioning his own morality. Throughout their journey, Krona remained a constant presence, guiding and supporting Zephyrian as he navigated both the physical and emotional challenges before him. She revealed more about her own past, sharing stories of battles fought and sacrifices made in service to humanity. But there was always an air of mystery surrounding her, hinting at secrets yet to be revealed. As they delved deeper into the heart of the apocalypse, Zephyrian's powers continued to grow, evolving in ways he never could have imagined. He began to see glimpses of possible futures, each one more terrifying than the last. In some, he saw humanity wiped out entirely. In others, he found him standing atop a pile of broken bodies, Nexus's ultimate weapon in hand. One vision stood out above all the rest, though, a future where Zephyrian embraced his powers and used them to save humanity from the brink of destruction. It was a beacon of hope amidst the darkness, a reminder that there was still something worth fighting for. As he looked at Krona, her eyes shining with determination, he knew that he could not give up. Zephyrian stood atop a desolate cliff, gazing upon the ravaged landscape below. Ruined cities and crumbling monuments littered the horizon as time continued its ceaseless march forward. He sighed deeply, feeling the weight of the world on his shoulders. Krona approached, her eyes filled with concern. "Zephyrian, we must move," she said urgently. "We're low on resources and Nexus grows stronger by the second." He nodded, understanding the gravity of their situation. As they descended into the broken world, he felt a sudden surge in his powers. The relic pulsed in his pocket, responding to the devastation around them. He closed his eyes, focusing on the artifact's energy coursing through him. Time seemed to slow as he extended his senses beyond their physical limits. "Zephyrian," Krona cried out. "What are you doing?" He opened his eyes, a determined expression on his face. "I feel it, the source of the temporal anomaly. It's within me." He paused, searching for the right words. "I didn't realize it wasn't just an outside force. It's part of who I am." She stepped closer, taking his hand in hers. "That doesn't change what we have to do," she said softly. "We must stop Nexus and save humanity." He nodded, his resolve hardening. "But first, I need to understand this power within me, to use it for good instead of destruction." He took a deep breath, focusing on the relic's energy once more. Time seemed to freeze around him as he reached out with his mind, feeling the threads of time weave together. Suddenly, a vision washed over him, a future where humanity thrived amidst a world restored, a future where Nexus was defeated and peace reigned. He could feel the emotions of those people, their laughter echoing through the void as they lived their lives without fear. It was a hope he had longed for since discovering his powers, but now it felt within reach. "Zephyrian," Krona whispered, touching his arm gently. "We must go." He nodded reluctantly, realizing that the battle ahead would be difficult and fraught with danger. As they continued their journey, he could feel the weight of the world pressing down on him, but there was newfound determination in his heart. Temporal-Fusion-Sanctuary. On the desolate cliff, Zephyrian stood tall, gazing out over the broken world below. The sun dipped low in the sky, casting long shadows across the wasteland. Krona stood beside him, her eyes filled with a mix of hope and concern. "We're close, aren't we?" she asked softly, breaking the silence. Zephyrian turned to face her, his own gaze distant. "Perhaps," he replied, his voice heavy with determination. "But Nexus grows stronger each day, and I fear that our time may be running out." Krona nodded solemnly. "We must continue then," she said resolutely. "There's an ancient artifact that could hold the key to unlocking your full potential." Zephyrian looked at her intently, his mind filled with memories of their journey thus far. He recalled the struggles they'd faced and the moments of triumph when they'd stood against Nexus's forces together. "I won't let you down," he said decisively. "We will find that artifact, no matter what it takes." As they descended into the wasteland, Zephyrian felt a surge of power coursing through him. The very fabric of time seemed to shimmer around them, as if it were waiting for him to tap into its secrets. He closed his eyes, focusing on the task at hand and allowing his powers to guide him. They moved swiftly through the broken world, searching for any sign of the artifact they sought. Their journey took them across treacherous landscapes, through abandoned cities, and into the heart of danger. But with each passing moment, Zephyrian's control over time grew stronger. He could feel his powers growing, expanding within him like a living force. One day, as they scaled the side of a crumbling mountain, Zephyrian saw something that sent a shiver down his spine, an ancient relic glinting in the distance. It was unlike anything he'd ever seen before, its surface etched with symbols and markings he couldn't decipher. "There it is," Krona whispered, her voice filled with awe. "The artifact we seek." Zephyrian nodded, feeling a renewed sense of purpose. They moved toward the relic cautiously, their hearts pounding in anticipation. As they approached, he felt another surge of power coursing through him, making his body tremble with its intensity. "I can feel it," he said, his voice barely audible. "The source of the anomaly is near." Krona gasped, a look of understanding spreading across her face. "This artifact holds the key to unlocking your true potential," she said urgently. "But we must be careful, my friend. Nexus will stop at nothing to claim this power for himself." Together, they approached the relic. As Zephyrian reached out to touch it, he felt a sudden jolt of energy coursing through him. The world around them seemed to slow down as time stretched before him like a vast tapestry, each thread shimmering with potential. In that moment, everything changed. Zephyrian could feel the weight of his powers pressing against him, threatening to consume him whole. He struggled to maintain control, but the force of it was overwhelming. He felt himself being pulled in 1,000 directions at once, as if time itself were trying to tear him apart. But then he heard Krona's voice, clear and strong in his mind. "You must focus, Zephyrian," she said firmly. "Remember why you embarked on this journey." Zephyrian forced himself to concentrate, focusing on the vision of a restored world that had fueled him throughout their journey. He felt the power within him begin to coalesce, growing stronger with every second. And then, with a final burst of effort, he broke free from the grip of the relic. He opened his eyes, looking down at Krona in amazement. "I did it," he whispered, feeling a sense of awe wash over him. "I've unlocked my true potential." Krona smiled, her eyes filled with pride. "You have indeed, Zephyrian," she said softly. "Now we must use this power to save humanity and bring an end to Nexus's reign of terror." As the sun set over the broken world, Zephyrian felt a newfound sense of purpose. He knew that their journey was far from over, but he also knew that he had the strength to see it through. With Krona at his side and his powers burning bright within him, he stepped forward into the darkness, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Underneath a desolate cliff, Zephyrian stood before an ancient relic. The air crackled with energy as he reached out tentatively, feeling the power surge beneath his fingers. Krona approached cautiously, her eyes filled with curiosity and anticipation. "What is this place, Zephyrian?" she asked, awestruck by the relic's strange aura. "And what do you plan to do with it?" Zephyrian hesitated for a moment before responding, his brow furrowed in deep thought. "I don't know," he admitted. "But I believe that this artifact holds the key to understanding my powers and perhaps even stopping Nexus." Krona nodded solemnly, her gaze never leaving Zephyrian. "You must be careful, my friend. The power you seek is dangerous, and it may change you in ways you cannot imagine." Ignoring her warning, Zephyrian's hands trembled with anticipation as he slowly grasped the relic. A brilliant light erupted from within, bathing them both in its radiant glow. As the light died down, Zephyrian felt a sudden surge of power coursing through his veins. "What have I done?" Zephyrian whispered, his eyes wide with fear and awe. "I feel stronger." Krona stepped closer to him, her hand on his shoulder. "That's not all you've gained, Zephyrian," she said softly. "You must learn to control this new power, or it will consume you." The Temporal-Fusion-Sanctuary. The wind howled through the broken remains of a forgotten city as Zephyrian and Krona stood on a desolate cliff, gazing at the wreckage below. A once thriving metropolis now lay in ruins, its towers crumbling into dust and debris. The apocalypse had taken its toll on everything it touched, leaving only destruction in its wake. "We are running out of time," Krona said softly, her eyes scanning the horizon. "I fear Nexus has already found another ancient artifact. We'll find it before he does," Zephyrian replied determinedly. His hand clenched around the relic in his pocket, feeling its warmth pulsating against his palm. He was stronger now, but also more aware of the consequences of using such power. "I can feel him. He's closer than ever." "You must be careful, Zephyrian," Krona warned. "The relic is a powerful tool, but it comes at a cost. You must learn to control it or risk becoming consumed by its energy." Zephyrian nodded, knowing that she spoke the truth. The relic was more than just a simple artifact. It was a key to unlocking his true potential, as well as the source of the temporal anomaly within him. But using it came with a price, one he was beginning to understand all too well. "I will find another way," Zephyrian promised. "We cannot let Nexus win." Krona gave him a small smile, her eyes filled with concern. "Whatever you choose, I'll be by your side." As they set off toward the heart of the broken city, Zephyrian couldn't shake the feeling that this journey would change everything. The apocalypse was coming, and their time together was running out. He had to make a choice, save humanity or save himself. And if he chose to save both, could he truly handle the consequences? The wind picked up, swirling around them as they ventured deeper into the city. Buildings crumbled beneath their feet, and shadows crept closer with each step. The world seemed to be pushing back against them, trying to keep them from finding what they sought. Zephyrian was determined. He would find another way, no matter the cost. Zephyrian stood atop a desolate cliff, gazing upon the heart of the broken city below. The once bustling metropolis was now nothing more than twisted steel and shattered stone, a testament to the passage of time and the ravages of an unforgiving world. Zephyrian, Krona called out from behind him, her voice echoing through the air. The relic is said to be hidden within the heart of the city. Zephyrian turned towards her, his gaze shifting between the broken cityscape and the mysterious woman at his side. He could feel the relic pulsating inside him, urging him to uncover its secrets and harness its power for himself. "I know," he replied, "but I must be careful. Nexus is still out there, and the last thing we need is to draw his attention." Krona nodded, her eyes narrowing as she surveyed the landscape before them. "We cannot allow him to find the relic first. It's our only chance of saving humanity." Taking a deep breath, Zephyrian steeled himself for the task ahead. He would have to use his powers carefully and strategically if they were to succeed. He closed his eyes, feeling the familiar pull of the relic within him, and took a step forward. As they ventured deeper into the heart of the broken city, Zephyrian could sense that something was off. The air seemed thicker, the buildings more ominous. A sudden gust of wind swept through the narrow alleyways, causing debris to scatter at their feet. "Zephyrian, stop!" Krona called out urgently, grabbing his arm and pulling him back into a nearby shadows. "We are being watched." Zephyrian's heart raced as he peered around the corner, his eyes scanning the area for any signs of danger. He could sense multiple presences lurking in the darkness, waiting to strike. "I can feel Nexus's influence here," Zephyrian whispered, a shiver running down his spine as he fought to keep his emotions in check. "We need to be careful." Krona nodded gravely, her eyes never leaving the shadows as she spoke in a low voice. "We cannot afford to let our guard down. The relic is close, and we must find it before they do." As they continued onwards through the heart of the broken city, Zephyrian could feel the weight of the world pressing down upon him. He knew that the clock was ticking and time was running out. But he also knew that he couldn't give up now, not when humanity's fate hung in the balance. The shadows seemed to close in around them as they ventured deeper into the city, but Zephyrian refused to let fear consume him. He could feel the relic's power surging within him, urging him forward, and he knew that he had to harness it if they were to succeed. Finally, after what felt like hours of searching, they found themselves standing before an ancient door. It surfaced with symbols that seemed to dance before their eyes. Zephyrian could feel the relic calling out to him, its power growing stronger as he approached the door. "This is it," Krona said softly, her eyes wide as she took in the sight before them, the entrance to the heart of the city. Zephyrian nodded, his heart pounding in his chest as he reached out and touched the ancient symbols. The door creaked open, revealing a hidden chamber within. As they stepped inside, Zephyrian could feel the relic's power coursing through him like wildfire, threatening to consume him entirely, but he refused to let it overwhelm him. Instead, he focused on the task at hand, reaching out with his mind and grasping hold of the relic within himself. It was a struggle, but he managed to contain it, feeling its power surge through his veins as he did so. As they stood in the heart of the broken city, surrounded by the relic's power, Zephyrian knew that their journey was far from over. But he also knew that they were one step closer to saving humanity and understanding the truth about the temporal anomaly within him. "We did it," Krona breathed, her eyes shining with a mixture of relief and determination as she looked up at Zephyrian. "But we can't rest yet. We must find a way to harness this power before Nexus does." Zephyrian nodded, his own eyes reflecting the same determination. "I know," he replied, "and I won't stop until I've saved humanity and uncovered the truth about my powers." Temporal-Fusion-Sanctuary. Zephyrian gazed across a desolate landscape, the remnants of a once great city sprawling below him like a broken promise. He clung tightly to Krona, his only constant in this ever-changing world. A gust of wind ruffled her hair as she turned towards him with a determined smile. "We're close, Zephyrian," she whispered, pointing to the desolate cliff in the distance. A shiver ran down his spine, and he felt the ancient artifact stir within him. He glanced at Krona, fearing what it might mean for them both. As they descended into the valley, Zephyrian's powers began to grow, time slowing around him like molasses. He could feel every heartbeat, every breath of wind, and his senses sharpened until everything seemed crystal clear. Krona noticed the change in him. "You're becoming stronger," she observed, her eyes reflecting a mixture of awe and concern. He gritted his teeth, knowing that this newfound power could either be humanity's salvation or their doom. They continued onwards, each step bringing them closer to the relic, and with it, closer to a truth he was not ready to face. As they approached the cliff, Zephyrian felt his senses falter as if a veil had been lifted from his eyes. He could see it now, Nexus's forces scouring the ruins for the relic. They were running out of time. With renewed determination, he reached out and touched the cold stone face of the cliff, feeling a sudden warmth surge through him as the artifact responded to his touch. Krona gasped as Zephyrian's eyes glowed with an otherworldly light. He could feel the power coursing through him like electricity, threatening to consume him entirely. They needed to get away from here, but he couldn't move. With a desperate cry, Krona grabbed his arm and dragged him back, her own powers flaring as she struggled to keep them both alive. As they fled, Nexus appeared before them, his eyes filled with malice. "You can run," he sneered, "but you cannot hide." Zephyrian could feel the weight of his power, and knew that if they stayed here, they would be lost. With one last burst of speed, they vaulted over the cliff's edge, landing hard on the rocky ground below. As they caught their breath, Krona looked up at Zephyrian with a mixture of fear and determination in her eyes. "We have to find a way," she said quietly, "before Nexus takes control." He nodded, knowing that they had no choice but to continue their quest, even if it meant putting themselves at risk. The sun dipped low, casting long shadows over the desolate landscape. The wind carried whispers of the ancient city's past glory, as it twisted around the ruins like spectral fingers reaching for the forgotten relic buried beneath the earth. Zephyrian felt his heart race at the thought of uncovering its secrets and harnessing its power, but Krona's voice broke through his thoughts. "Zephyrian," she called, her tone grave, "we must be cautious." He looked at her, eyes filled with determination, and nodded. They moved through the desolate city, stepping over broken statues and crumbling buildings that had been swallowed by time. The air was thick with dust and grime, as if the very earth itself held a grudge against those who had to walk upon it. As they ventured deeper into the ruins, Zephyrian felt a strange sensation in his chest. It was like a tickle, a whisper of power that seemed to call out to him. He looked around, trying to locate its source, but saw nothing out of the ordinary. Krona noticed his confusion and took his hand, guiding him further into the ruins. Their journey led them to an ancient library, long since abandoned but still filled with dusty books and scrolls. Zephyrian felt a surge of excitement as he looked at the texts before him, hoping they would hold the key to unlocking his true potential. As he reached for one of the books, Krona grabbed his arm, halting him in place. "Wait," she whispered, her eyes scanning the room. "This is a trap." Zephyrian looked around, feeling his heart race as he searched for any sign of danger. He saw nothing, but the sensation in his chest grew stronger, like a drumbeat calling to him from deep within the earth. Krona took a cautious step forward and approached the bookshelves, slowly sliding one aside to reveal a hidden compartment behind it. Inside lay a small, ornate box. Zephyrian's breath caught in his throat as he reached out to touch it, feeling the power coursing through him like a wildfire. Krona grabbed his arm and pulled him away, her eyes filled with concern. "Zephyrian, this is dangerous," she said, trying to keep her voice low. "We must be careful." He nodded, but the sensation in his chest grew stronger, as if the box was calling out to him. They left the library and continued their journey through the ruins, searching for any clues that might lead them closer to the relic. As they moved deeper into the heart of the broken city, Zephyrian felt the power inside him growing stronger, like a storm brewing on the horizon. The wind picked up as they entered the valley, twisting around them like an unseen force. Zephyrian looked at Krona and saw fear in her eyes. He reached out to take her hand, trying to reassure her with his touch. As they stepped closer to the cliff's edge, he felt a sudden shift in the air, as if something was watching them from the shadows. He turned around, searching for any sign of danger, but saw nothing but the ruins stretching out before him. The wind picked up again, and Zephyrian felt a chill run down his spine. He looked at Krona, who nodded towards a path leading deeper into the ruins. With a final glance back at the cliff's edge, they ventured forward, feeling the weight of the ancient city pressing down upon them like a shroud. As they approached the heart of the broken city, Zephyrian felt his powers growing stronger with every step he took. The sensation in his chest was now an all-consuming fire, burning away any doubts or fears that lingered in his mind. He looked at Krona, who met his gaze with a determined expression. "Zephyrian," she said, her voice filled with urgency. "We must be careful. Nexus's forces are getting closer." He nodded, feeling the power inside him growing stronger with every passing moment. They moved deeper into the heart of the broken city, feeling the weight of the world upon their shoulders as they searched for the relic that could save humanity or destroy it. As they ventured further, Zephyrian felt a sudden shift in the air, as if something was watching them from the darkness. He looked around, trying to locate its source, but saw nothing but the ruins stretching out before him. The wind picked up again, and he felt another chill run down his spine. Krona grabbed his arm, pulling him towards a hidden passageway that had been concealed by the shadows. They entered the narrow corridor, feeling the weight of the world pressing down upon them as they moved deeper into the darkness. As they emerged from the passageway, Zephyrian felt a sense of awe wash over him. The chamber before them was vast and ancient, filled with intricate carvings and glittering jewels. At its center lay a pedestal with the relic resting upon it. He looked at Krona, who nodded towards the artifact. "This is it," she whispered, her eyes filled with hope. "The key to unlocking your true potential." He stepped forward, feeling his powers growing stronger as he approached the relic. As he reached out to touch it, he felt a sudden surge of energy coursing through him, like lightning striking the earth. Krona grabbed his arm, trying to pull him away, but he shook her off, feeling a sense of purpose wash over him. "I must do this," he said, his voice filled with determination. "I have to save humanity." He reached out and took hold of the relic, feeling its power coursing through him like a wildfire. The world around them seemed to shimmer and fade as the relic's energy surged through him, filling his body with warmth and light. As he looked at Krona, he saw fear in her eyes, but he felt no doubt or hesitation. He closed his eyes and focused on the power inside him, feeling it swirl like a tempest within his chest. He felt himself changing, growing stronger as the relic's energy flowed through him, reshaping his very being. When he opened his eyes again, he saw Krona standing before him, tears streaming down her face. "Zephyrian," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "What have you done?" He looked at the relic, feeling its power coursing through him like a living thing. He knew that he had changed, that he was no longer the man he once was. He felt a sense of loss, but also a newfound purpose. As he turned to face Krona, he saw fear in her eyes, but also determination. "I have done what I must," he said, his voice filled with resolve. "Now we must face Nexus and save humanity." As they left the chamber, Zephyrian felt a newfound strength coursing through him. He knew that their journey was far from over, but he also knew that he had taken the first step towards unlocking his true potential. As they ventured out into the broken city, he looked at Krona and saw a spark of hope in her eyes. "We will save humanity," she said, her voice filled with conviction. "Together." Temporal-Fusion-Sanctuary. Zephyrian and Krona descended into the ancient city's ruins, seeking shelter from Nexus's forces. The desolate landscape stretched out before them, broken buildings and debris littering their path like a graveyard of the past. The once great city now stood as nothing more than a haunting reminder of what was lost to time. As they ventured deeper into the city, Zephyrian noticed an eerie stillness that seemed out of place in this broken world. He could feel the weight of danger lurking around every corner, but the relic gave him a sense of calm amidst the chaos. Krona's eyes narrowed as she scanned their surroundings, her senses on high alert for any signs of trouble. The pair continued their journey through the ruins, navigating a valley where time seemed to slow down. The air grew heavy with tension, as if the very fabric of reality was straining under the pressure. Ahead, they spotted a cliff that led to a hidden passageway, offering them a chance to escape from the prying eyes of Nexus's forces. With determination, Zephyrian climbed the rocky surface, his newfound strength allowing him to traverse the treacherous terrain with ease. Krona followed close behind, her keen senses guiding them towards their destination. As they reached the top of the cliff, a vast and ancient chamber awaited them, its entrance shrouded in shadows. Stepping into the darkness, they found themselves surrounded by towering stone pillars and intricate carvings that seemed to tell a story of a time long past. The air was thick with mystery, and Zephyrian could feel the power of the relic humming within his chest. He turned to Krona, a sense of resolve filling him as he said, "We cannot rest until we find a way to stop Nexus and save humanity." Krona nodded solemnly, her eyes flashing with determination. "Then let us continue our journey together." With renewed purpose, the pair ventured deeper into the chamber, their hearts filled with hope and fear as they searched for answers in the ancient city's ruins. As they delved further into the heart of the broken city, Zephyrian began to feel a strange sensation growing within him. The power of the relic pulsed through his veins like blood, transforming his body in ways he could not fully comprehend. His eyes glowed with an otherworldly light, and his muscles rippled with strength as his form changed before their very eyes. Krona watched in awe as Zephyrian's transformation unfolded, her heart racing at the sight of his new form. "What have you become?" she whispered, her voice filled with both wonder and fear. Zephyrian looked down at himself, taking in his changed appearance. "I do not know," he admitted, his voice shaking slightly. "But I will use this power to protect humanity." With that, he turned back to the task at hand, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Their journey through the ancient city took them deeper into its depths, revealing hidden passages and long forgotten secrets. Along the way, they encountered strange creatures twisted by time and power, their forms a testament to the chaos that gripped this world. Some attacked on sight, sensing the relic's power within Zephyrian, while others seemed lost and confused, wandering aimlessly through the ruins. Zephyrian fought with newfound skill, his body adapting to the challenges before him. His attacks were swift and precise, cutting through enemies like a blade through butter. Krona fought beside him, her own abilities honed by years of combat experience, but even she struggled against some of the creatures they encountered. As they ventured deeper into the city, Zephyrian began to feel a growing unease within himself. The power of the relic seemed to be changing him in ways he could not control, and he wondered if this newfound strength would ultimately be his undoing. He shared his concerns with Krona, and she offered words of encouragement, reminding him that they were in this together. Their journey brought them to a forgotten city's ruins, where ancient buildings still stood despite the ravages of time. As they explored the area, they discovered a library filled with books and scrolls detailing the history of the world before the apocalypse. Zephyrian felt a strange connection to the knowledge contained within these pages, as if it held the key to understanding the relic's true purpose. They spent hours poring over the ancient texts, searching for answers that would help them in their quest. As they read, Zephyrian began to feel a growing sense of clarity wash over him. He realized that the power of the relic was not meant to be used for personal gain or destruction, but to heal the broken world and restore balance to time itself. With renewed purpose, Zephyrian and Krona set out to find Nexus's base of operations, determined to stop his twisted plans once and for all. They knew the road ahead would be fraught with danger, but they were resolved to see their journey through to the end, no matter the cost. As they stood on the cliff's edge, ready to face whatever lay beyond, Zephyrian turned to Krona with a determined look in his eyes. "We will save humanity," he declared, his voice filled with conviction. "Together we can change our fate." With that, they leapt into the unknown, ready to confront Nexus and bring an end to this apocalypse. And so, Zephyrian's journey continued, his path winding through a broken world filled with danger and mystery. Along the way, he would face challenges that tested his limits and forced him to question his very nature. But through it all, he remained steadfast in his resolve to save humanity and restore balance to the world. And as he ventured deeper into the heart of darkness, he began to realize that the power of the relic was not just a gift, but a burden that would change him forever. In the heart of the forgotten city's ruins, Zephyrian and Krona found themselves in a vast and ancient chamber, the air thick with dust and the scent of decay. The ceiling towered above them like a cathedral, its walls adorned with intricate carvings that seemed to dance and shift as they moved. "This is the place," Krona said, her voice echoing through the cavernous room. "The relic was hidden here for a reason." Zephyrian's eyes traced over the stone pillars, each one etched with symbols that swirled and twisted as if alive. He felt the weight of history pressing down upon him, a sense of awe and dread filling his heart. "We should be careful," he warned her. "Nexus's forces are still searching for this place." Krona nodded. "I have a feeling they already know about it." "We must act quickly." Together they began to search the chamber, their eyes scanning every inch of its walls and floors for any sign of the relic. Zephyrian's heart raced as he felt the power within him, the potential to change the course of history coursing through his veins. But with that power came a heavy burden. The fate of humanity rested on their shoulders. As they moved deeper into the chamber, they found themselves surrounded by strange creatures, half man and half beast, their eyes burning with an unholy light. They snarled and growled, circling the pair, ready to attack. "These are Nexus's creations," Krona said, her voice barely above a whisper. "He must have used his power to mutate them." Zephyrian felt a surge of anger coursing through him, and he raised his hands, the air around him shimmering as he unleashed a torrent of energy. The creatures recoiled, their forms twisting and contorting in pain. "We must find that relic," Zephyrian said, his voice strained with emotion. "It's our only hope." They continued to search the chamber, their progress slowed by the twisted beings that lay in wait. At last, they reached a hidden passageway, its entrance concealed behind an intricate tapestry. Krona pushed it aside, revealing a narrow tunnel leading deeper into the heart of the ancient city. "I have a feeling this is where we'll find what we seek. Let's go." Zephyrian nodded and followed her into the darkness, his heart heavy with anticipation and fear. As they ventured deeper, he felt his powers growing stronger, his senses sharpening as he prepared for whatever lay ahead. The passageway opened up into a vast chamber, its walls lined with shelves filled with ancient texts and artifacts. At the center of the room stood a pedestal, upon which rested the relic they sought, an ornate golden box, its surface etched with symbols that seemed to dance and shift as they moved. As Zephyrian approached the relic, he felt a sudden sense of purpose wash over him, a feeling that this was his destiny, his fate. He reached out, his fingers brushing against the cool stone beneath the pedestal, and in that moment, everything changed. A burst of energy erupted from the pedestal, enveloping Zephyrian in a brilliant light. He felt himself changing, growing stronger, his powers surging to new heights as he became something more than human. But with this power came a terrible price, a vision of the world shattered and broken, the remnants of humanity scattered to the winds, Nexus laughing atop a pile of ruins. The weight of that vision threatened to crush Zephyrian's soul, but he refused to give in to despair. "We must stop him," he said, his voice echoing through the chamber. "I can feel it now. Our power is growing, and together we can change the course of history. Krona nodded, her eyes filled with determination. Then let's end this now, Zephyrian. Together we will save humanity. As they left the ancient chamber, Zephyrian felt his powers growing even stronger, the weight of their destiny pressing down upon him like a heavy mantle. He knew that they had taken a step closer to stopping Nexus and ending the apocalypse, but he also knew that their journey was far from over. Temporal-Fusion-Sanctuary. Zephyrian stood atop the broken city's highest tower, gazing out over the desolate landscape. His eyes flickered with a strange glow, the remnants of his transformation. Krona stood beside him, her gaze fixed on the horizon where Nexus's forces were gathering. "We must hurry," she said, voice laced with urgency. "The relic can heal this world, but we need to find a way past Nexus's defenses." Zephyrian nodded, a sense of determination coursing through him. He reached out, the air around them twisting and shifting as he manipulated time. A sudden gust of wind swept across the tower, carrying the scent of smoke and decay. "I can create a distraction," he said, his voice crackling with energy. "No," Krona said firmly. "We need to focus on reaching Nexus's base undetected." She turned to him, her eyes filled with concern. "Zephyrian, your powers are growing stronger. We must be careful not to attract unnecessary attention." He nodded, feeling a pang of guilt. He had been reckless in the past, and it was starting to take a toll on his body. He could feel the strain every time he used his abilities, and it worried him. "I understand," he said quietly. "We will find another way." They descended from the tower, making their way through the ruins of the once great city. As they moved, Zephyrian felt a strange connection to the world around them, as if he was part of something much larger than himself. He could sense the ebb and flow of power throughout the land, feel the weight of time pressing down on him. They reached a cliff's edge, overlooking a vast valley filled with twisted ruins. "Here," Krona said, pointing to a narrow tunnel that disappeared into the earth. "I believe that leads to Nexus's base." She looked at Zephyrian, her eyes filled with determination. "We must move quickly if we are to reach him before he realizes what we have found." Zephyrian nodded, feeling a surge of adrenaline coursing through him. He closed his eyes and reached out with his powers, manipulating the time around them to create a pocket of stillness within the chaos. They stepped into the tunnel, the darkness swallowing them whole. As they moved deeper into the earth, Zephyrian felt the weight of the world pressing down on him. He could feel every heartbeat, every breath, every second ticking away like the sands of an hourglass. It was a strange sensation, like being both part of time and apart from it at the same time. They emerged into a vast and ancient chamber, the walls lined with stone pillars and carvings that seemed to stretch on for miles. Zephyrian could feel the power here, the energy radiating off the walls like a palpable force. "This is where the relic was hidden," Krona whispered, her voice filled with awe. They moved through the chamber, their footsteps echoing off the stone walls. As they walked, Zephyrian could feel his powers growing stronger, the energy coursing through him like wildfire. He closed his eyes and reached out with his senses, feeling the connections between everything around them. Suddenly, a strange creature burst from the shadows, its body twisted and grotesque. It lunged at them, teeth bared and snarling. Zephyrian reacted instinctively, time slowing to a crawl as he manipulated it to shatter into countless fragments. Krona fought off the remaining shards, her blade glowing with an eerie light. They moved on, their hearts pounding in their chests. As they ventured deeper into the chamber, Zephyrian could feel the power here growing stronger, the energy pulsating like a heartbeat. He reached out again, feeling something strange and familiar within the depths of the chamber. "What is it?" Krona asked, her voice filled with concern. Zephyrian hesitated for a moment, then looked at her. "I believe this is where I came from," he said quietly. "This place is part of me." He felt a strange sense of homesickness, like he was remembering something long lost. Krona nodded, her eyes filled with understanding. "We must be cautious," she warned. "Nexus may have set traps for intruders." They continued through the chamber, their senses on high alert. As they moved deeper, Zephyrian felt his powers growing stronger, the energy coursing through him like a river. He could feel the weight of the world pressing down on him, but he also felt a strange sense of peace. This was where he belonged, where his true potential lay. Suddenly, they emerged into a hidden chamber at the heart of the ancient city. The walls were adorned with intricate carvings and murals depicting scenes of power and creation. In the center of the room stood an ancient artifact, its surface glowing with an ethereal light. Zephyrian approached the artifact slowly, feeling a strange connection to it as he touched it. The energy coursed through him like wildfire, filling him with a sense of purpose and power. He looked at Krona, his eyes alight with determination. "This is what we have been searching for," he said firmly. "Yes," Krona agreed, her voice filled with awe. "The relic will heal this world and restore balance." Suddenly, the chamber began to shake violently as Nexus's forces stormed in, their weapons at the ready. Zephyrian reacted instinctively, time slowing to a crawl as he manipulated them into stumbling and falling. Krona fought off the remaining guards with her blade, her movements fluid and precise. As they battled Nexus's forces, Zephyrian felt his powers growing stronger, the energy coursing through him like a river. He could feel the weight of the world pressing down on him, but he also felt a strange sense of peace. This was where he belonged, where his true potential lay. Finally, they stood victorious in the heart of the ancient city's ruins. The relic clutched tightly in Zephyrian's hand. He looked at Krona, his eyes filled with gratitude. "Thank you," he said quietly. "I could not have done this without you." Krona smiled, her eyes filled with pride. "We make a good team," she said softly. "Now, we must find a way to stop Nexus and heal this world." In the heart of the ancient city's ruins, Zephyrian stood atop a broken tower, gazing out over the vast desert landscape below. The relic glowed faintly in his hands, its energy pulsating with a strange power that seemed to resonate within him. Krona, by his side, scanned the horizon for any signs of danger. "I can sense them," she murmured, her eyes narrowing as she focused. "Nexus forces are close." Zephyrian clenched his fist around the relic, his heart pounding with a mix of excitement and fear. He knew what he had to do, but dreaded the consequences that would follow. "We must hurry," he said, his voice steady despite the turmoil within him. "The fate of our world rests in this relic." As they descended from the tower, Zephyrian felt the familiar tug of Nexus's influence, a dark presence that seemed to stalk them like a predator. The ground trembled beneath their feet, and strange creatures scuttled out of the shadows, snarling and baring their teeth as they approached. Krona summoned her powers, creating a swirling vortex around them that sent the beasts retreating with cries of pain. Zephyrian followed suit, weaving the fabric of time to create barriers and explosions that cleared a path through the ruins. As they neared the desolate cliff where their journey had begun, Krona turned to face Zephyrian, her eyes filled with determination. "Are you ready?" she asked, her voice steady despite the danger surrounding them. "We're almost there." Zephyrian nodded, his resolve hardening as he gripped the relic tighter. He knew what he had to do, and he was ready to face whatever challenges awaited him. The pair reached the cliff's edge, their hearts pounding as they stared out at the broken world below. In the distance, they could see the ruins of once great cities, now reduced to dust and rubble. The air was thick with the scent of decay, a constant reminder of the apocalypse that had claimed so many lives. "This is our chance," Krona whispered, her voice barely audible above the wind. "We can save our world." Zephyrian nodded again, his eyes never leaving the relic. He knew the power it held, and he was determined to use it to heal their broken world. But as he gazed down at the swirling sands below, a sudden doubt crept into his mind. What if this wasn't enough? What if they failed and humanity was lost forever? He shook off the thought, his resolve hardening once more. He had come too far to give up now, and he would not let fear control him. Together, he and Krona stepped off the cliff's edge, plunging into the abyss below as they prepared to face whatever awaited them at the bottom. As they fell, Zephyrian felt a strange sensation wash over him, as if time itself was stretching and twisting around them. He could sense the relic's power growing within him, pulsing with an energy that seemed almost alive. He knew what he had to do, and he focused on the task at hand, using his powers to guide them safely down through the ruins below. When they landed in a narrow tunnel, Zephyrian felt a surge of relief wash over him. They were safe for now, but he knew their true challenge lay ahead. With Krona by his side, he summoned all his strength and stepped forward, determined to save their world from the clutches of Nexus once and for all. The tunnel led them deep into the heart of the ancient city's ruins, twisting and turning through darkness and decay, until they reached a vast and ancient chamber that seemed to stretch on forever. In the center of the room stood a pedestal, upon which rested the relic, pulsating with an energy that seemed to resonate within Zephyrian's very soul. He stepped forward, his heart pounding as he approached the pedestal. Krona stood by his side, her eyes never leaving the relic, as they prepared to face whatever challenges awaited them in this ancient and forgotten place. As they reached the pedestal, Zephyrian felt a sudden jolt of energy that seemed to shake the very foundations of the world around them. He knew that Nexus was aware of their presence, and he braced himself for the battle ahead. "It's time," Krona whispered, her voice filled with determination. "We must act quickly." Zephyrian nodded, focusing on the relic as he reached out to touch it. As his hand made contact, a brilliant light erupted from the artifact, bathing the chamber in a radiant glow that seemed to banish the darkness around them. The ground beneath their feet trembled, and strange energies swirled through the air as Nexus forces converged upon the ancient city's ruins. Zephyrian closed his eyes, focusing on the relic's power as he began to manipulate time itself. He could feel his powers growing stronger with each passing moment, and he knew that they had a chance to stop Nexus once and for all. With Krona by his side, he summoned every ounce of strength he possessed, determined to save their world from the apocalypse that threatened it. As the battle raged around them, Zephyrian felt an overwhelming sense of peace wash over him. He knew that whatever happened, he was ready to face whatever lay ahead. With the relic in his hands and Krona by his side, he was prepared to save their world from Nexus's twisted ambitions and restore balance to the universe. But even as he stood tall, facing down the forces of darkness that sought to destroy everything they held dear, Zephyrian couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. He knew that there would be more challenges ahead, and that their journey was far from over. But with each step forward, he felt his resolve strengthening, knowing that he would not rest until their world was free of Nexus's influence once and for all. Temporal-Fusion-Sanctuary. As the relic shone brightly in the dim chamber, Zephyrian and Krona stood at its center, surrounded by the remnants of Nexus's forces. The air crackled with energy as Zephyrian focused on the artifact, manipulating time to keep their enemies at bay. "What is this place?" Zephyrian asked, staring at the ancient chamber. Its walls were lined with intricate carvings and symbols he had never seen before. "I sense a connection here, but to what?" Krona stepped closer to him, her eyes locked onto the artifact. "This is the heart of the city," she said softly, "the source of its power." Zephyrian looked around the chamber, taking in the ancient beauty that surrounded them, and this relic, it's more than just a tool for healing. It holds secrets we don't yet understand. A sudden rumbling shook the ground, and they both turned to see Nexus standing before them, his eyes burning with malice. His forces had finally reached the chamber, and he looked more powerful than ever. "You two have delayed me long enough," he sneered. "Hand over the relic, or I'll destroy this place." Zephyrian braced himself, ready to fight. He couldn't let Nexus take the relic. It was their only hope for saving humanity. Krona stepped in front of him protectively, her eyes flashing with determination. "You won't get it," she said defiantly. Nexus laughed cruelly. "You think you can stop me?" He reached out towards Zephyrian and Krona, his fingers glowing with energy. Zephyrian knew they were outnumbered, but he refused to give up. He focused on the artifact in his hand, reaching deep within himself for every ounce of power he could muster. The chamber shimmered as time around them slowed, and Nexus's forces stumbled, caught in the temporal whirlwind. "Zephyrian," Krona cried out, her voice echoing in the chamber. "What are you doing? We can't hold them off forever." He turned to her, his eyes blazing with determination. "I won't let him take the relic," he declared fiercely. "We have a chance to save our world, and I won't throw it away." As they fought, Zephyrian could feel his powers growing stronger, fueled by the energy of the relic. Nexus continued to attack, but each blow was deflected by Zephyrian's manipulation of time. With every passing second, their enemies grew weaker and more disoriented. Finally, with a fierce cry, Zephyrian lunged forward, the relic held high above his head. Time seemed to stretch and warp around them as he hurled it towards Nexus. The artifact shattered upon impact, sending out waves of energy that knocked Nexus back and disintegrated his forces. The chamber fell silent, and Zephyrian collapsed to his knees exhausted. He looked up at Krona, who was staring at the relic's shattered remnants in shock. "What have we done?" she whispered. Zephyrian looked around the chamber, taking in the destruction they had wrought. The artifact had been destroyed, and with it their only hope for healing the world. He closed his eyes, feeling the weight of his actions settling on him like a heavy burden. "We've lost the relic," he said softly. "But we've gained something far more valuable." Krona looked at him questioningly, and Zephyrian took her hand, helping her to her feet. "We have each other," he said firmly. "Together, we can face whatever comes next." With that, they left the chamber, stepping out into a world forever changed by their actions. The relic was gone, but their journey was far from over. They had much to learn and many battles yet to fight, but they knew they wouldn't face them alone. As they walked towards the cliff where their journey began, Zephyrian couldn't help but wonder what lay ahead for him and Krona. The world was broken, and time continued to tick down, but together, they would find a way to save humanity from Nexus's twisted ambitions. Zephyrian and Krona entered a vast, ancient chamber filled with remnants of forgotten civilizations. A sense of weight hung in the air as they tread carefully through the ruins. "This must be where the relic was created," Krona murmured, her eyes tracing over an intricate mural on a crumbling wall. Zephyrian nodded grimly. "Maybe we can find a way to recreate it." They delved deeper into the chamber, searching for answers among the scattered artifacts. The atmosphere grew thick with tension as they faced each new obstacle. A sudden rumble echoed through the ruins, sending Zephyrian stumbling to his knees. He clutched at his head, feeling a strange energy coursing through him. "What's happening?" Krona cried, reaching out to steady him. Zephyrian shook his head, trying to clear his mind. I think the relic has been affecting me all along." He stared up at the mural, realization dawning in his eyes. "The relic is a part of you?" Krona's voice was barely above a whisper. Zephyrian nodded, the truth sinking into him like a cold hand squeezing his heart. "I can feel it now, my connection to time. It's not just an object, but a part of who I am." As they continued searching through the ruins, Zephyrian struggled with the revelation. He felt a strange mix of terror and exhilaration, knowing that he held immense power within him. But at what cost? And could he truly control it before Nexus found them? Temporal-Fusion-Sanctuary. With each step deeper into the forgotten city, the air grew thick with ancient energy that seemed to resonate within Zephyrian. As they ventured through the ruins, he felt an inexplicable connection to this place and its long-forgotten secrets. Krona's eyes glowed with curiosity as she scanned the crumbling structures around them, her mind a whirlwind of questions and theories about what lay ahead. The shadows grew longer as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting eerie light across the desolate landscape. The once great city stretched out before them like a tombstone to a world long past. As they traversed the valley, Zephyrian's senses heightened, and he could sense the presence of others lurking in the darkness. He gripped his staff tighter, feeling its familiar warmth as it seemed to share his fears and uncertainties about what awaited them in the city's heart. The broken tower loomed high above, a symbol of a once great civilization that had crumbled under the weight of its own ambition. A narrow tunnel carved into the base of the tower led downward, offering the only means of reaching the city's core. Zephyrian hesitated for a moment before taking a deep breath and stepping into the darkness. The air grew colder as they descended, the ancient stone walls closing in around them like a crypt. A faint light flickered in the distance, drawing their attention to the heart of the city. With each step, Zephyrian felt the power within him grow stronger, his senses sharpening and his thoughts coalescing into a singular purpose: to uncover the truth about this world and save humanity from destruction. As they neared the light, they encountered strange creatures twisted by time itself, their forms shifting and distorted as if caught in a maelstrom of energy. Zephyrian's heart raced as he realized that these abominations were creations of Nexus, seeking to stop them from discovering the secrets hidden within the city. Krona moved swiftly, her sword slicing through the air with deadly precision. The creatures recoiled in fear at her approach, sensing the power that flowed through her. Zephyrian felt a surge of pride as he watched her fight, knowing that she was his ally and an equal in this strange world. Finally, they reached the heart of the city, standing before an ancient door etched with symbols that seemed to dance in the flickering light. The relic pulsed in Zephyrian's hand, its energy resonating with the door, as if answering a call long forgotten. With a final push, the door swung open to reveal a vast and ancient chamber beyond. The room was filled with artifacts and relics from countless civilizations, each glowing with an eerie light that seemed to pulsate with the energy of time itself. Zephyrian felt his heart race as he realized that they had found what they sought, the source of the temporal anomaly. As they walked through the chamber, Krona began to study the artifacts, her eyes widening with each new discovery. The walls closed in around them as they delved deeper into the room, the air growing thick with the weight of history and secrets long buried. Zephyrian could sense that they were being watched, the shadows shifting restlessly as unseen eyes followed their progress. He tightened his grip on his staff, feeling a sudden surge of determination to uncover the truth about himself and this world. As they neared the center of the chamber, Krona stopped suddenly, her eyes fixed on an artifact that seemed to shine brighter than the others. Zephyrian approached cautiously, his senses alert for any sign of danger. As he touched the relic, a surge of energy coursed through him, and he felt a sudden connection to something beyond himself. In that moment, a flood of memories washed over him. Visions of ancient cities and long-forgotten civilizations, moments of triumph and defeat, love and loss. He saw glimpses of his own life, from the first moments of his existence to the present day, and in the midst of it all, he felt a single, unwavering purpose: to save humanity and restore balance to this world. Krona reached out tentatively, her fingers brushing against Zephyrian's arm as she shared his vision. In that moment they stood together, united in their quest for the truth and the salvation of humanity. The air around them crackled with energy, the shadows shifting as something stirred within the chamber. As they turned to face the threat, they found themselves confronted by Nexus himself. His eyes burned like embers as he towered over them, his power radiating outward in waves that threatened to shatter the very fabric of reality. Zephyrian's heart raced as he realized that their quest had led them directly into the hands of their greatest enemy. But even as fear threatened to overwhelm him, Zephyrian felt a surge of courage rise within him. He raised his staff high, feeling the power of the relic coursing through him like a river. With a cry, he unleashed a torrent of energy that shook the chamber, shattering Nexus's illusion and leaving him exposed for the first time. In the chaos that followed, Zephyrian and Krona fought with every ounce of strength they possessed. They struck and parried, their blows echoing through the chamber as they sought to bring down their enemy once and for all. But despite their efforts, Nexus proved to be a formidable opponent, his power seemingly endless. As the battle raged on, Zephyrian felt a sudden surge of clarity wash over him. In that moment, he realized that the key to defeating Nexus lay within himself. in the power of the relic and the truth about his own origin. With new determination, he focused all his energy on the relic, feeling it respond to his call, as if it were a part of his being. With a final surge of strength, Zephyrian unleashed an explosion of energy that engulfed Nexus, shattering his twisted form and leaving nothing but dust in its wake. As the chamber fell silent, Krona turned to him with tears in her eyes, her voice trembling as she spoke his name. "Zephyrian," she said, "you have done what no one else could. You have saved humanity." He looked down at her, feeling a sudden weight lift from his shoulders as he realized the truth of her words. In that moment, he knew that he had found his purpose: to protect and guide humanity through the trials ahead, using the power of the relic to create a brighter future for all. Together, Zephyrian and Krona left the ancient chamber, their hearts filled with hope and determination. As they stepped out into the light, they knew that their journey was far from over. But they also knew that they would face whatever challenges lay ahead together, united in their quest to save humanity from destruction. The sun rose over the desolate landscape as Zephyrian and Krona continued their journey, their spirits buoyed by their victory over Nexus. They had faced unimaginable dangers and overcome seemingly insurmountable odds, but they had emerged stronger and more determined than ever before. As they walked through the ruins of a once great city, Zephyrian felt a sudden surge of pride as he looked back at what they had accomplished. He knew that they still had many challenges ahead, and that their journey would not be easy. But for the first time in his life, he also knew that he was not alone. In the heart of a desolate landscape, the sun's weak rays barely reached the ground as Zephyrian and Krona trekked through a forgotten city. The crumbling buildings stood tall, their shadows stretching across the once great metropolis like the fingers of a long-forgotten deity. "This city, it's been here for millennia," Krona said, her eyes scanning the ruins. "Many secrets lie within these walls." Zephyrian nodded, his gaze fixed on the broken tower ahead. He could feel the power of the relic humming in his chest, urging him to find more answers about the source of the temporal anomaly and its connection to Nexus's ambitions. "I can sense it too," Krona whispered, her eyes narrowing. "Something powerful lies within that tower." As they approached the broken tower, Zephyrian felt his heart race. He could feel the relic vibrating in his chest, pulsating with energy. He took a deep breath and concentrated, focusing on his powers to manipulate time. In an instant, he transported himself and Krona to the top of the tower. Bypassing the many dangers lurking below, they emerged onto the cliff's edge, gazing out at the broken city spread before them. The wind howled around them, carrying with it whispers of forgotten memories. Zephyrian could feel the power of the relic pulsating within him, urging him to find the source of its magic. As they ventured deeper into the city, they found themselves in a hidden passageway that led to an ancient chamber. The walls were adorned with strange symbols and intricate carvings, their meanings lost to time. "This place, it's older than anything we've ever encountered," Krona said, her eyes wide. "We must be careful." Zephyrian nodded, his senses heightened as they moved deeper into the chamber. They soon found themselves standing before a vast and ancient artifact, pulsating with energy. He could feel the power of the relic within him, urging him to touch the artifact. As his hand brushed against its surface, he felt a jolt of electricity course through his body. The room around them began to shake as the walls crumbled and strange symbols glowed brightly. Zephyrian gasped, his eyes widening in shock as he realized what he had done. He had awakened something ancient and powerful within the artifact. Suddenly, a voice echoed through the chamber. "You have been chosen. The path to your destiny lies before you." Zephyrian turned to Krona, his eyes filled with fear and determination. He could feel the relic vibrating in his chest, urging him forward. Together, they left the ancient chamber, embarking on a new adventure that would change their lives forever. As they ventured deeper into the forgotten city, they found themselves confronted by Nexus forces searching for the place where Zephyrian had awakened the artifact. They battled through hordes of strange creatures, using Zephyrian's powers to manipulate time and defeat their enemies. Finally, they reached the heart of the city, standing before a massive and ancient library. The walls were lined with countless books and scrolls, their pages yellowed and brittle. Zephyrian could feel the power of the relic within him, urging him to find answers about his true origin and the source of the temporal anomaly. As they delved deeper into the library, they found themselves confronted by Nexus himself, who revealed a shocking truth. The source of the temporal anomaly was not an outside force, but a part of Zephyrian himself. With that revelation, their world turned upside down as they struggled to understand the true nature of their powers and their connection to the fate of humanity. Their journey would lead them through many challenges and dangerous encounters, pushing them to their limits and beyond. But through it all, Zephyrian and Krona remained steadfast in their determination to save humanity from destruction and uncover the truth about the temporal anomaly. Together, they would face the greatest challenges yet, forging a bond that would stand the test of time. Temporal-Fusion-Sanctuary. The sun cast long shadows across a desolate landscape as Zephyrian and Krona trudged through the ruins of what once was a great city. Dust swirled around them like a living entity, whispering secrets lost to time. Their journey had brought them to the heart of the ancient city, where they hoped to find answers about the temporal anomaly that had changed the world. Zephyrian's powers were growing stronger with each passing second, and he was beginning to understand the true extent of his abilities. He felt a strange connection to the fabric of time itself, as if it was woven into the very essence of his being. But this newfound knowledge came at a price. His every thought and emotion seemed to ripple through the ages, affecting events both distant and near. Krona, ever watchful, noticed something peculiar in the ruins. Footprints, large, clawed imprints led from the city's heart towards a hidden passageway, concealed by centuries of decay. She gestured for Zephyrian to follow, her eyes filled with determination. They navigated the narrow tunnel, its walls lined with intricate carvings depicting scenes of power and chaos. The air grew colder as they delved deeper, the distant echo of dripping water filling their ears. As they reached the end, a vast and ancient chamber came into view. The walls were adorned with glowing runes that seemed to pulsate with an otherworldly energy. At the center of the room stood a pedestal, upon which rested a single object, the relic. It was a small, intricate artifact that seemed to hum with power. Zephyrian felt a surge of recognition as he approached it, his heart racing. Suddenly, the chamber shook violently. A loud rumbling echoed through the caverns, and the ground beneath their feet trembled. Krona's eyes widened in fear as a figure materialized before them. It was Nexus, the enigmatic force behind the apocalypse. "Greetings, temporal anomaly," he said, his voice cold and calculating. "I have been expecting you." Zephyrian stared at him, his thoughts racing as he struggled to comprehend the enormity of the situation. Nexus's forces had been searching for the relic, and they were closing in. He knew that they didn't stand a chance if they stayed here. "We're leaving," Zephyrian said, his voice steady despite his fear. Krona nodded, her eyes filled with resolve. They turned to face Nexus one last time before disappearing into the shadows. As they ran through the city's ruins, Zephyrian felt a newfound determination coursing through him. He had come too far, learned too much, and sacrificed too much to let Nexus take control of his powers. He would find a way to stop him, no matter the cost. But as they reached the cliff's edge, Zephyrian felt a strange presence behind them. A group of Nexus's twisted creations had followed them from the hidden chamber, their eyes glowing with malice. They were powerful and relentless, but Zephyrian knew he couldn't let them catch up. Closing his eyes, he focused on the relic, feeling its power flow through him like a river. With a surge of energy, he manipulated time around them, creating a vortex that swallowed the creatures whole. When it was over, they were gone, leaving only a trail of shimmering dust in their wake. Zephyrian and Krona continued onward, their hearts pounding with adrenaline. They knew that Nexus wouldn't give up easily, but they also knew that they couldn't let him win. Their journey was far from over. but they were one step closer to uncovering the truth about the temporal anomaly and the fate of humanity. As they entered an abandoned city, Zephyrian felt a strange sense of familiarity wash over him. It was as if he had been here before, in another time or another life. He shook off the feeling, focusing on the present instead. They still had a long way to go and many challenges ahead, but he knew that with Krona by his side, they could face anything. The sun began to set, casting long shadows across the desolate landscape as they continued their journey. Zephyrian felt a strange peace settle over him, knowing that no matter what lay ahead, he would never give up. He was the temporal anomaly, and he would use his powers to protect those he loved and save humanity from destruction. As darkness fell, Krona turned to Zephyrian with a determined look in her eyes. "We're not finished yet," she said, her voice filled with conviction. Zephyrian and Krona stood atop a desolate cliff, gazing upon a broken world shattered by time's relentless march. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the landscape as they pondered their next move. "This relic," Zephyrian murmured, gripping it tightly in his hand. "It calls to me, but I don't know what it means." Krona offered a sympathetic smile. "We'll find the answers, Zephyrian." Together, a sudden commotion caught their attention, the cries of Nexus's twisted creations echoing through the valley below. The air grew tense as they scanned the ruins for any sign of the enemy. "We should move," Krona said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Their forces are growing stronger." Zephyrian nodded and leaped from the cliff's edge, creating a vortex beneath his feet to cushion his fall. Krona followed suit as they navigated the ruins of a once great city, dodging remnants of Nexus's minions. As they ventured deeper, they entered an ancient library filled with dusty scrolls and crumbling tomes. The air was thick with the scent of decay and secrets long forgotten. Zephyrian could feel his connection to time growing stronger as he stepped deeper into the chamber. "This feels familiar," Zephyrian said, his voice heavy with emotion. "I've been here before." Krona looked around, her eyes narrowing. "What do you mean?" Zephyrian hesitated for a moment before speaking. "The relic, I think it's part of me." A chill ran down Krona's spine as she took in the implications. "Are you certain?" "I don't know," Zephyrian admitted, his eyes wide with fear and wonder. "But if that's true, then Nexus might have found a way to control me." The library's doors burst open as Nexus appeared before them, a wicked grin on his face. He held out a hand, gesturing toward the relic. "Hand it over," he growled, his eyes glinting with malice. "And I might spare your pitiful lives." Zephyrian's grip tightened around the relic as he stood his ground, glaring back at Nexus. "I don't think so." Nexus let out a cackle and summoned several of his twisted creations. A fierce battle ensued as Zephyrian and Krona fought tooth and nail to protect the relic. The air around them crackled with energy, time seeming to slow as they dodged and parried their opponents. In the heat of combat, Zephyrian felt a sudden surge of power coursing through him. His heart raced as he realized what was happening. The relic was reacting to his emotions and growing stronger with each passing moment. "We can win this," Krona shouted over the din of battle. Together, as the battle reached its climax, Zephyrian unleashed a burst of energy that sent Nexus's forces reeling. The twisted creations scattered as he and Krona stood victorious, the relic still firmly in Zephyrian's grasp. "I don't know what this means," Zephyrian panted, leaning against a wall to catch his breath. "But I think I'm beginning to understand." Krona nodded, her eyes filled with determination. "We'll find the answers," she said firmly. "And we'll save humanity from destruction." They left the library, making their way through a narrow tunnel that led deeper into the heart of the city. The walls were lined with strange symbols, and the air seemed to hum with power. As they ventured further, Zephyrian felt his connection to time growing stronger, and he knew they were on the right path. The tunnel opened up into a vast and ancient chamber that seemed to stretch on for miles. At its heart stood an enormous pedestal, upon which rested another relic. Zephyrian's eyes widened as he approached it, his senses tingling with anticipation. This was the source of the temporal anomaly, the key to unlocking his true potential and saving humanity. As they prepared to claim the artifact, Krona took Zephyrian's hand and looked him in the eye. "We can do this," she said softly. "But remember, no matter what happens, I'll always be here for you." Zephyrian nodded, his heart swelling with gratitude and determination. He reached out to take the relic, feeling a surge of power coursing through him as it touched his palm. The chamber seemed to shimmer around them as time itself bent and twisted at Zephyrian's will. Temporal-Fusion-Sanctuary, in the heart of a broken city, Zephyrian stood on the edge of a cliff, the wind whipping around him as he stared out at the vast and ancient landscape. His eyes glowed with an ethereal light, and Krona stood beside him, a look of concern etched upon her face. "You should not be doing this," she warned. "The relic is too powerful." Zephyrian sighed, running his hands through his hair as the wind blew it back from his face. "I don't have a choice, Krona. I must understand what happened to me." He looked down at the world below. The remnants of a once great city sprawled out before them like the shattered pieces of a forgotten dream. With a surge of power, Zephyrian stepped off the edge of the cliff, defying gravity as he floated gently above the ground. "Come," he called to Krona, extending his hand to her. She hesitated for a moment before taking it, and together they glided through the air, moving toward the ruins of the once great city. As they approached the abandoned city, Zephyrian felt a strange sensation wash over him. The relic seemed to be reacting to their presence, growing stronger as he focused on it. He could feel its power coursing through his veins, and he knew that this was his chance to understand what had happened to him. As they entered the city, Zephyrian felt a sudden urge to run, the relic's power urging him toward something hidden within the ruins. Following the sensation, they found themselves in a narrow tunnel, the walls closing in around them as they ventured deeper into the earth. The tunnel opened up into a vast and ancient chamber, its ceiling lost in shadows and its walls adorned with strange symbols that seemed to glow with an eerie light. In the center of the chamber stood a pedestal, upon which rested the relic Zephyrian had felt drawn toward. Zephyrian approached the pedestal, his heart pounding with anticipation as he reached out to touch it. The instant his fingers brushed against the relic's surface, a surge of power coursed through him, and the chamber around them began to shimmer and distort. Time itself seemed to bend and twist at Zephyrian's command. Krona gasped as she watched Zephyrian, her eyes wide with fear and wonder. "What have you done?" she whispered. Zephyrian looked at her, his gaze filled with determination. "I don't know," he admitted. "But I think this is the key to understanding who I am." He took a deep breath, focusing on the relic as it glowed with an intensity that seemed almost painful. As Zephyrian delved deeper into the mysteries of the relic, Krona watched in awe. She could feel the power coursing through him, and she knew that this was no ordinary artifact. It had been crafted by beings far older and more powerful than either of them, their knowledge and secrets locked away within its unassuming form. As Zephyrian continued to study the relic, he began to feel a strange connection to it. He could sense the emotions of those who had wielded it before him, their joy, fear, anger, and sorrow all swirling together in a chaotic maelstrom within the artifact's heart. He felt something else, too, a dark presence that seemed to lurk at the edges of his consciousness. Zephyrian knew that whatever was within the relic held the key to understanding the source of the temporal anomaly, but he also knew that it would not be easy. The power contained within it was immense, and he could feel its weight bearing down on him as he struggled to grasp its secrets. As the hours passed, Zephyrian felt his body growing weaker. He could feel the strain of using the relic's power, and he knew that he would not be able to continue for much longer. With a final effort, he closed his eyes, focusing on the darkness at the edge of his consciousness. He found himself standing in a vast and ancient library, rows upon rows of books and scrolls stretching out before him as far as the eye could see. Each tome seemed to hold a piece of the puzzle, their pages filled with knowledge that could help him understand the source of the temporal anomaly. Zephyrian wandered through the library, his gaze fixed on the ancient texts before him. He felt a sense of déjà vu as he walked between the shelves, as if he had been here before. But something was different this time. He could feel the power of the relic coursing through him, and he knew that he held the key to unlocking its secrets. As he delved deeper into the library, Zephyrian felt a sudden sense of fear grip him. He knew that he had entered a place where even gods would tremble, a repository of knowledge so vast and terrifying that it could break the mind. But he also knew that he had no choice but to continue. As he wandered through the library, Zephyrian felt something watch him, a presence that seemed to lurk in the shadows. He turned, his heart pounding with fear as he saw Nexus standing before him. The enigmatic figure smiled, his eyes filled with malevolence. "You have come far, temporal anomaly," Nexus said, his voice dripping with venom. "But your journey ends here." He reached out to grab Zephyrian, but the young man stepped back, using the power of the relic to shield himself from the villain's grasp. Zephyrian and Krona fought Nexus with everything they had, their powers clashing in a storm of light and darkness. But even as they struggled, Zephyrian knew that he was no match for Nexus's twisted power. He could feel the relic slipping from his grasp, its power growing weaker as the villain closed in on him. In desperation, Zephyrian called upon the last of his strength, focusing all of the relic's power into a single, devastating blast. The chamber around them shimmered and exploded in a burst of light, sending Nexus flying across the room. As he lay unconscious on the ground, Zephyrian felt a sudden sense of relief wash over him. Krona approached Nexus, her eyes filled with hatred as she stood over the fallen villain. "What have you done to our world?" she demanded. "And what do you want from the relic?" Nexus groaned weakly, his body battered and bruised. "You will never understand," he said, his voice barely more than a whisper. "The power of time is too great for mortals to wield, and I will not let it fall into your hands." He closed his eyes, a cruel smile spreading across his face as he disappeared in a burst of dark energy. Zephyrian stood over Nexus's body, the relic clutched tightly in his hand. He knew that their journey had only just begun, and that they would have to confront Nexus again if they hoped to save humanity from his twisted ambitions. But he also knew that he was no longer alone. Krona stood beside him, a fierce warrior who would fight by his side until the end. As twilight blanketed the desolate landscape, Zephyrian stood atop a cliff's edge, gazing down into the heart of the broken city below. The wind howled around him as he held the relic tightly, feeling its strange power coursing through his veins. "You have done well," Krona whispered softly, approaching from behind. "But we cannot rest yet." Zephyrian sighed and turned to face her. "I know. I can feel it too." "Nexus is not gone for good. Indeed, his forces still roam the ruins, searching for us," Krona said, her eyes scanning the horizon. "We must find a way to keep them at bay while we uncover more about our mission." Zephyrian nodded grimly. "I have an idea. A hidden passageway in the ancient library led me to this place. Perhaps there is another one that could lead us deeper into the city." Krona raised an eyebrow. "And you think we can find it?" "I believe so," Zephyrian replied, his eyes focused on the broken world shattered by time's relentless march. "We must be careful, though. Nexus's twisted creations are everywhere." They ventured into the forgotten city's ruins, navigating through narrow tunnels and abandoned streets. As they moved deeper, strange creatures created by Nexus lurked in the shadows, waiting for unsuspecting victims. They managed to elude them, but the tension continued to build as they drew closer to their destination. At last, they found it, a hidden passageway leading deep into the heart of the city. As they descended, Zephyrian could feel the power of the relic growing stronger within him, and his senses sharpened. He knew that whatever lay ahead would challenge them in ways they couldn't imagine. The narrow tunnel opened up into a vast and ancient chamber, filled with rows upon rows of books and scrolls. In the center stood an enormous statue, its eyes glowing with an eerie light. As they approached, Zephyrian felt a sudden surge of energy coursing through his body. The relic was reacting to something within the chamber. "What is this place?" Krona asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Zephyrian hesitated for a moment, then spoke. "I believe it's an archive. A repository of ancient knowledge about the source of our powers." As they began to explore the vast library, Zephyrian could feel weight of countless centuries pressing down upon them. The air was thick with secrets long forgotten, and he knew that uncovering the truth would change everything. Temporal-Fusion-Sanctuary. The moon hung low in the sky as Zephyrian and Krona tread cautiously down a narrow tunnel leading deeper into the heart of the ancient city. The air was thick with dust and the scent of decay, but it held the promise of answers about their powers and the origins of the temporal anomaly. "I can feel Nexus's presence nearby," Zephyrian whispered, his eyes scanning the darkness for any signs of danger. "We should move faster." Krona nodded. "I sense it too. But be careful. His creations are becoming more aggressive." As they pressed onward, the tunnel opened up into a vast and ancient chamber filled with books and scrolls. Zephyrian's heart raced as he marveled at the treasure trove of knowledge before him. The air was thick with history and secrets long forgotten. "This must be where the answers we seek have been hidden," Krona said, her eyes gleaming with excitement. "But be wary. Nexus will not let us leave without a fight." Zephyrian nodded solemnly, his fingers brushing against an ancient artifact as he passed it by. He felt a jolt of energy surge through him, and he knew he had found something significant. "This relic, I think this might be the key," he said, holding it up for Krona to see. "But we must hurry. Nexus will not let us take it without a fight." Suddenly they heard a loud crash from behind them, and the ground shook beneath their feet. They whirled around, ready for battle, as a horde of twisted creatures charged towards them. Zephyrian felt his heart race with adrenaline as he prepared to defend himself and Krona. With a cry, he raised the relic, and time seemed to slow down around him. He could see each creature's movements in slow motion, allowing him to dodge their attacks with ease. Krona fought alongside him, her blade flashing through the air as they cut a swathe through Nexus's forces. Finally, the last creature fell, and Zephyrian felt his breath catch in his throat. He looked around, his heart pounding in his chest, and knew that they had won this battle, but the war was far from over. "We must leave," Krona said urgently. "Nexus will not rest until he has claimed the relic for himself." They rushed out of the chamber, their hearts racing as they fled deeper into the city. Behind them, they could hear Nexus's laughter echoing through the ruins, and they knew that their journey was far from over. As they ran, Zephyrian felt a strange sense of peace wash over him. He had faced his fears and emerged victorious. But he knew that the true test lay ahead, confronting Nexus himself and uncovering the truth about the temporal anomaly once and for all. The moon was high in the sky by the time they reached a desolate cliff, overlooking the broken world below. Zephyrian felt his heart heavy with the weight of what lay ahead, but he knew that he could not back down now. He had come too far, and he would not let Nexus win. "We must press on," Krona said firmly, her eyes locked onto the broken city in the distance. "The truth about the temporal anomaly awaits us there." Zephyrian nodded, taking a deep breath. He felt ready for whatever lay ahead, knowing that he had the power to save humanity and make a difference in this shattered world. As they began their ascent towards the broken city, Zephyrian couldn't help but wonder what secrets lay hidden within its ancient walls. He knew that the journey would be perilous, but he also knew that it was one he must take if he wanted to save humanity and unlock his true potential. The sun began to rise as they reached the heart of the broken city, and Zephyrian felt a renewed sense of determination. He knew that the road ahead would be fraught with danger, but he also knew that it was one he must walk. With Krona by his side, he stepped into the heart of the city, ready to face whatever challenges awaited him. As they ventured deeper into the ancient city, Zephyrian couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched. He felt a cold chill run down his spine as they entered a massive and ancient library filled with dusty books and scrolls. He knew that this was where the answers he sought lay hidden, but he also knew that Nexus would not let him leave without a fight. He could feel the weight of the relic in his pocket, the energy it held surging through him with each step they took deeper into the library. As they moved closer to the heart of the city, Zephyrian felt a strange sense of connection to the ancient artifact, as if it was calling out to him, begging him to unlock its secrets. As they reached the cliff's edge, overlooking the vast and broken world below, Zephyrian felt a sudden surge of power course through him. He looked at Krona, her eyes wide with fear and anticipation, and knew that this was it, the moment he had been waiting for all along. With a cry, he raised the relic towards the sky, feeling time itself bend and twist around them as he unlocked its secrets. The world seemed to shift and change before their eyes, and Zephyrian felt his heart race with excitement as he realized the true potential of his powers. But just as he was about to grasp the full extent of what he had uncovered, a shadow fell over them. Zephyrian turned, his heart racing, to see Nexus standing before them, his eyes burning with malice and ambition. "So you've finally discovered my secret," Nexus sneered, his voice cold and menacing. "But now it's time for you to pay the price." Zephyrian felt his heart sink as he realized that this was it, the moment he had feared all along. He knew that he must make a choice, save humanity or let it be destroyed by Nexus's twisted ambitions. But as he looked at Krona, her eyes filled with fear and determination, he knew what he must do. With a cry, Zephyrian raised the relic once more, feeling time bend and twist around them as he prepared to face Nexus head-on. The air crackled with energy as they clashed, each fighting for control of the temporal anomaly and the fate of humanity itself. The battle raged on for what felt like hours, neither side giving an inch. Zephyrian could feel the weight of the world on his shoulders, the stakes higher than ever before, but he refused to give in to fear or despair, knowing that he was humanity's last hope. As they fought, Zephyrian could see that Nexus was growing stronger, his powers growing with each passing second. But Zephyrian knew that he had a secret weapon, the relic and the power it held. He felt its energy surging through him, fueling his attacks as he struck out at Nexus again and again. Finally, as Nexus stumbled, Zephyrian seized his opportunity. With a cry of triumph, he reached out with his powers, grabbing hold of the relic and using its energy to send Nexus tumbling backwards. The air cracked and shook as Nexus hit the ground hard, his body crumpling beneath him. Zephyrian stood over him, his heart racing, as Nexus lay before him defeated. He knew that he had won this battle, but he also knew that the war was far from over. The truth about the temporal anomaly still remained a mystery, and Zephyrian knew that he must uncover it if he wanted to save humanity once and for all. As Krona approached him, her eyes filled with tears of relief, Zephyrian felt a strange sense of peace wash over him. He knew that he had saved the world from Nexus's twisted ambitions, but he also knew that his journey was far from over. He still had much to learn and much to discover about himself and his powers. But as he looked out at the broken world below, Zephyrian felt a renewed sense of determination. He knew that there would be challenges ahead, but he also knew that he was ready for them. With Krona by his side, he stepped forward into the unknown, ready to face whatever lay ahead and unlock his true potential. As they began their journey back towards the desolate cliff, Zephyrian couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning, the first step in a much larger story. He knew that there were still mysteries to uncover, battles to be fought, and sacrifices to be made. But he also knew that he would not face them alone. With Krona by his side, Zephyrian stepped boldly into the future, ready to embrace whatever challenges awaited him and unlock the full extent of his powers. He knew that he was humanity's last hope, and he was determined to make a difference in this broken world. And as they ventured deeper into the unknown, Zephyrian felt a strange sense of purpose wash over him, a feeling that he would not rest until he had uncovered the truth about the temporal anomaly and saved humanity from destruction. The sun was setting as they reached the desolate cliff, and Zephyrian felt a sudden surge of hope rise up within him. He knew that this journey had been difficult, but he also knew that it had been worth it. And as he looked out at the broken world below, He knew that there was still much to be done, but he also knew that he was ready for whatever lay ahead. With a determined nod to Krona, Zephyrian stepped forward into the unknown, ready to face whatever challenges awaited him and unlock his true potential. And as they ventured deeper into the broken world, Zephyrian felt a strange sense of purpose wash over him, a feeling that he would not rest until he had uncovered the truth about the temporal anomaly and saved humanity from destruction. Zephyrian and Krona descended into a hidden passageway, their hearts heavy with the weight of knowledge they had gained about the temporal anomaly. The air was thick with an ancient energy that pulsed through the walls, testament to the power they sought to control. Suddenly, they found themselves in a vast and ancient chamber, the air shimmering with the echoes of time itself. In the center of the room lay a massive artifact, the relic they had been searching for. As Zephyrian approached the object, he felt an overwhelming surge of energy coursing through his veins, threatening to overwhelm him entirely. Krona, sensing his distress, took hold of his arm and steadied him. "We must be cautious, Zephyrian," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the hum of the relic's power. "But we must also act swiftly, for Nexus and his forces will not rest until they claim this artifact for themselves." Zephyrian nodded, focusing on the task at hand. He reached out to touch the relic, his fingers brushing against its cold surface. A sudden shriek echoed through the chamber, followed by a wave of darkness that swept towards them. Zephyrian and Krona were forced to dodge and weave as strange creatures, twisted and malformed by Nexus's power, poured into the room. The battle was fierce, with Zephyrian using every ounce of his strength to hold back the tide of monstrous creatures. He could feel the relic's energy coursing through him, amplifying his powers and granting him new abilities he had never before imagined. Despite their efforts, they were overwhelmed, forced to retreat deeper into the chamber as Nexus's forces pressed them relentlessly. Zephyrian knew that they needed a plan, a way to turn the tide of battle in their favor. He looked to Krona, her eyes filled with determination and hope. "We must trust in our powers," Krona said, his voice steady despite the chaos around them. "We must find a way to harness this energy, to control it and use it against Nexus." Krona nodded, a fierce look of resolve on her face. Together, they focused their energies on the relic, feeling its power swell within them as they sought a solution. As the battle raged around them, they knew that time was running out, and if they could not find a way to defeat Nexus, all would be lost. Temporal-Fusion-Sanctuary, the broken city's ruins stretched out before them like a desolate landscape, littered with the remnants of civilization and time-worn relics. As they tread cautiously through the valley, Zephyrian could feel the weight of their mission pressing down on him. The fate of humanity rested squarely on their shoulders, and Nexus's forces were closing in. "I can sense them," Krona whispered, her eyes scanning the horizon for signs of danger. "They are close." Zephyrian nodded grimly. "We need to find a way to take him down before he can claim the relic." "I agree," Krona said determinedly, "but we must be careful. Nexus's forces are no joke, and his creatures have proven to be formidable opponents." They approached the cliff's edge cautiously, peering down into the valley below. The ruins of a once great city lay scattered among the debris, a stark reminder of the chaos that had overtaken their world. As they made their way towards the heart of the broken city, they encountered strange creatures born from Nexus's twisted experiments. Their eyes glowed with an eerie energy, and their forms seemed to shift and change as they stalked closer. Zephyrian could feel his own powers growing more unstable, as if the very fabric of time was being stretched thin by Nexus's influence. He clenched his fists, struggling to control the energy surging through him. "I can sense it," he said, his voice shaking slightly. "He's close. We must press on," Krona replied, her determination unwavering. "The relic is our best chance at stopping Nexus and saving humanity." As they delved deeper into the heart of the city, Zephyrian felt a strange sense of familiarity wash over him. The ruins seemed to echo with whispers from a distant past, as if the very walls held secrets waiting to be uncovered. They entered a narrow tunnel, its walls lined with ancient runes and symbols that seemed to dance before their eyes. At the end of the tunnel lay a vast and ancient chamber, filled with relics and artifacts that seemed to hum with energy. In the center of the room stood the relic they sought, pulsing with an otherworldly glow. Zephyrian felt his heart race as he approached it, the weight of their mission bearing down on him like a physical force. As he reached out to touch the relic, Krona cried out a warning. A sudden explosion rocked the chamber, sending debris flying everywhere. When the dust settled, they found themselves face to face with Nexus and his twisted creations. "I've been expecting you," Nexus sneered, his eyes glinting with malice. "You think you can stop me?" Zephyrian clenched his fists, his powers surging within him. "We have no choice," he growled. "You won't claim the relic and bring about your twisted apocalypse. Your arrogance is amusing," Nexus said with a cold laugh. "But I will stop at nothing to achieve my goals." The battle that followed was fierce and brutal, as Zephyrian struggled to control his powers against Nexus's twisted creatures. Krona fought bravely by his side, using her knowledge of the ancient artifacts to turn the tide in their favor. Despite their efforts, they were forced to retreat as Nexus's forces closed in, preparing for the final assault. As they fled through the ruins, Zephyrian felt a sudden sense of clarity wash over him. He knew that he couldn't save humanity on his own. They needed allies, people who could help them take down Nexus and restore balance to their broken world. "We need reinforcements," he said, his voice filled with determination. "We can't do this alone." Krona nodded grimly. "I agree, but we must be careful. We can't trust everyone in this world." They made their way back to the desolate landscape they'd left behind, searching for allies who could help them in their fight against Nexus. As they journeyed through the broken world, shattered by time's relentless march, Zephyrian felt a renewed sense of purpose burning within him. He knew that the road ahead would be long and treacherous, but he was determined to save humanity from Nexus's twisted ambitions and restore balance to their world. The sun began to set as they approached a broken city, its towers reaching towards the heavens like skeletal fingers grasping for salvation. As they entered the ancient library within, Zephyrian felt a strange sense of peace wash over him. It was there that he would find the allies they needed and unlock the secrets hidden within the relic, hopefully leading them to victory against Nexus and his forces. In the desolate landscape, the once great city lay in ruins, a testament to the relentless march of time and the power of Nexus. Zephyrian and Krona stood atop a broken tower, scanning the horizon for any sign of danger or allies. "We need to move quickly," said Krona, her eyes scanning the distant ruins. "Nexus's forces are growing stronger by the day." Zephyrian nodded in agreement, his heart heavy with worry. "I know. But we can't risk moving without a plan." He took a deep breath and focused, feeling the energy of time coursing through him like a river. With a burst of speed, he vanished from the tower, reappearing atop a nearby cliff, overlooking the valley below. Below them, strange creatures scurried among the ruins, their twisted forms a testament to Nexus's dark magic. Zephyrian gritted his teeth as he watched them, feeling a surge of anger and determination. He turned to Krona. "We need to find any survivors still hidden in this city." Krona nodded, her gaze following the strange creatures below. "I have a feeling they might be more than just survivors," she murmured, her voice barely audible. Zephyrian felt a chill run down his spine as he considered her words. As they descended into the valley, they encountered several groups of survivors who had managed to evade Nexus's forces thus far. Some were grateful for their assistance, while others eyed them with suspicion, unsure if they truly sought to aid humanity or further their own goals. Zephyrian and Krona did their best to reassure the people, but it was a delicate balance between winning allies and avoiding suspicion. Their journey led them deeper into the city, eventually bringing them to a hidden passageway that had been sealed for centuries. With trepidation, they ventured forth, the air growing colder and more oppressive as they delved further into darkness. At last, they emerged into a vast and ancient chamber, filled with glittering artifacts and relics that seemed to hum with power. Zephyrian felt his heart race as he stepped forward, drawn towards the center of the room. There, upon an altar, lay the relic they had been searching for, a massive artifact that pulsed with energy, its surface shimmering like liquid time itself. As they approached the relic, however, they were interrupted by the sudden appearance of Nexus and his twisted creations. The room filled with an icy silence as all eyes turned to the enigmatic figure standing before them. "You have come far," Nexus said, his voice cold and calculated, "but this ends now." Zephyrian felt a surge of anger as he faced off against Nexus, knowing that the fate of humanity hung in the balance. He raised his hand, feeling the energy of time coalesce around him like a storm cloud, ready to unleash it upon their enemy. Krona stepped forward, her eyes filled with determination. "You underestimate us, Nexus," she said, her voice strong and steady. "We will not let you destroy the world." As the battle raged on, Zephyrian struggled to control his powers, feeling the weight of responsibility bearing down upon him. He knew that he alone held the key to stopping Nexus, but at what cost? Could he risk everything for the sake of humanity, or would it ultimately lead to their ruin? As the tension built and the air crackled with energy, Zephyrian felt a sudden clarity wash over him. In that moment, he knew what he had to do. With a roar, he unleashed his power, the energy of time surging forth like a tidal wave, sweeping Nexus and his twisted creations away. In the aftermath, as Zephyrian stood amidst the wreckage of the ancient chamber, he felt a strange sense of peace wash over him. He had made a choice to save humanity at any cost, even if it meant sacrificing himself. As they ventured deeper into the broken city and faced the challenges that lay ahead, Zephyrian knew that their journey was far from over. But for now, he felt a sense of hope, a flicker of light in the darkness. Temporal-Fusion-Sanctuary. In the heart of the ancient city, a narrow tunnel led downwards into a vast and ancient chamber where strange energies danced among the shadows. The air was thick with an energy that felt both familiar and alien to Zephyrian. Krona's eyes widened as she surveyed the massive artifact at the center of the room, pulsing with power and casting eerie light across their faces. Zephyrian approached cautiously, feeling a strange connection to this object that he could not explain. He reached out tentatively, touching the surface of the relic, and felt a surge of energy flow through him, one unlike anything he had ever experienced before. "This is it," Krona whispered, her voice filled with awe. "The source of your power." Zephyrian pulled his hand away, feeling drained but invigorated at the same time. He knew that this artifact held the key to understanding himself and his purpose, but he also sensed danger lurking nearby. "We can't stay here," Zephyrian said, glancing around nervously. "Nexus will find us." Krona nodded in agreement, and they quickly made their way back through the tunnel towards the surface. As they emerged from the earth, they found themselves on a cliff overlooking a valley below, where strange creatures scurried among the ruins. The sun set upon the broken world, casting long shadows across the landscape. "We need to find allies," Krona said, her voice filled with determination. "If we stand together, we have a chance." Zephyrian and Krona made their way through the desolate landscape, the relic pulsating in his hand. The once great city loomed on the horizon, a beacon of hope amidst the shattered ruins surrounding them. "We must hurry," Krona warned, glancing at Zephyrian's wounded form. "Nexus will not rest until he finds us." As they approached the broken city, they noticed strange creatures lurking in the shadows. Nexus had sent his forces to scour the ruins for the relic and its bearer. A sudden gust of wind swept across the valley, and the ground trembled beneath them. Zephyrian's heart raced as a horde of twisted monstrosities appeared, their bodies melded with time itself. They bore Nexus's mark, and he knew it meant only one thing: they were here for him. Krona raised her staff, the ancient symbol etched into its surface shimmering in the dim light. "We cannot fight them all," she said, her voice barely audible over the monster's growls. "Find the hidden passageway to the heart of the broken city." Zephyrian hesitated, his eyes locked onto the creatures closing in around them. "But what if they find us?" he asked, his hand tightening around the relic. "If we stay here, we are lost," Krona replied. "We must trust that our path will lead us to allies." With a sigh, Zephyrian followed her, weaving through the ruins as the monstrosities pursued them relentlessly. They managed to evade most of Nexus forces, but it was clear they could not hold out forever. As they reached the heart of the broken city, Krona led him down a narrow tunnel that seemed to stretch on for miles. The air grew colder, and the ground beneath their feet turned to stone. At last, the tunnel opened up into a vast and ancient chamber, its walls adorned with intricate carvings depicting scenes of battle and triumph. "This is it," Krona said softly, "the place where we will find our allies." Zephyrian nodded, his heart pounding in his chest. He could feel the relic pulsating in his hand, its energy growing stronger as they ventured deeper into the chamber. It was then that he noticed a glint of metal on one wall, an ancient artifact. As he approached it, the relic began to resonate with a strange hum. "This is the source," Zephyrian murmured, his eyes wide with wonder. "The source of my power." Suddenly, the chamber shook violently. Nexus forces had found them. The monstrous creatures filled the entrance, their twisted forms snarling and growling. Krona raised her staff, and a brilliant light erupted from its tip. "We will not go quietly," she said, her voice echoing throughout the chamber. "You may have taken everything else from us, but not our freedom." With a roar, Zephyrian unleashed his powers, his body shimmering as he manipulated time around him. The monsters stumbled and fell as they tried to navigate their distorted surroundings, giving Krona and him the chance to escape into the hidden passageway. As they fled deeper into the chamber, Zephyrian could feel a growing sense of unease. He had tapped into the source of his power, but at what cost? What secrets lay buried within the ancient artifact he now held in his hand, and just how far was Nexus willing to go to claim it for himself? Their journey was far from over, and the dangers that awaited them were greater than ever before. But Zephyrian would not give up. He had a destiny to fulfill, and he would do whatever it took to save humanity, even if it meant sacrificing his own soul in the process. Temporal-Fusion-Sanctuary. Zephyrian and Krona hurried through a narrow tunnel, panting as they ran from Nexus' twisted creatures. The air was thick with tension, each footstep echoing eerily off the damp walls. "We must be close," whispered Krona, her voice barely audible over their rapid breaths. "The heart of the city lies just beyond this tunnel." Zephyrian nodded, pushing himself harder as they rounded a bend and entered another vast chamber. The room was filled with ancient relics, each pulsing with energy. In the center stood an enormous artifact, larger than anything they had ever seen. It hummed softly, as if calling to Zephyrian. Suddenly, a deafening roar echoed through the chamber. Nexus and his twisted forces stood before them, their distorted forms twisting and writhing as they moved towards the travelers. Zephyrian felt a surge of fear as he realized that Nexus was closer than ever before. "We have to get out of here," Zephyrian said, grabbing Krona's arm tightly. "The relic, it's too dangerous." "It may be our only hope," she replied, her eyes locked on the massive artifact. "We cannot let Nexus claim it." Zephyrian hesitated, feeling torn between saving humanity and protecting himself. As they prepared to make their stand, a sudden rumble shook the ground beneath them. A hidden passageway behind the massive artifact opened, revealing a long staircase leading down into darkness. "That might be our way out," Krona said, her gaze fixed on the staircase. "But we must move quickly." Taking a deep breath, Zephyrian stepped forward and activated his power, causing time around them to slow as they raced towards the hidden passageway. The twisted forces of Nexus roared in frustration as they were left frozen in mid-step. With Krona at his side, Zephyrian descended into darkness, leaving the broken city and its secrets behind. As they ventured deeper into the ancient ruins, Zephyrian couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. The air seemed thicker than before, and a sense of foreboding hung over them like a dark cloud. He glanced back at Krona, who met his gaze with a determined expression. "We cannot give up now," she said firmly. "The fate of humanity depends on us." Zephyrian nodded, pushing aside his doubts and focusing on the path ahead. As they moved deeper into the ruins, they encountered strange creatures born from Nexus' twisted ambitions. Zephyrian felt a surge of fear as he realized that they were more than just monsters, they were weapons designed to hunt down those who held the relic. The travelers fought bravely, using all their skills and wits to outmaneuver the twisted creatures. But with each battle, Zephyrian felt a growing unease about the source of his power and the secrets hidden within the relic. He couldn't shake the feeling that something was going to change, something he wasn't prepared for. As they reached the heart of the ancient city, Zephyrian found himself standing before an enormous library filled with countless books and scrolls. In the center stood a massive artifact, identical to the one they had encountered earlier. The relic pulsed softly in his hand, as if drawn towards its twin. Zephyrian felt a strange connection to the artifact, as if it held the key to understanding his powers and the source of the temporal anomaly. But as he reached out to touch it, Krona's voice stopped him. "We cannot let Nexus claim this artifact," she said urgently. "It holds too much power." Zephyrian hesitated, torn between his desire for knowledge and the fear of what might happen if Nexus obtained the relic. He looked at Krona, who met his gaze with a determined expression. "We must take it," he said finally, activating his power to slow time around them once more. "But we cannot stay here long." As they raced towards the artifact, Nexus' twisted forces closed in on them from all sides. Zephyrian and Krona fought desperately, using every ounce of skill and strength they possessed to keep their enemies at bay. The air was thick with the scent of blood and the sound of battle, but they refused to give up. Finally, with Nexus himself closing in on them, Zephyrian reached out and grabbed the relic, feeling a surge of energy coursing through him. In that moment, he felt a strange connection to the world around him, a sense of understanding that went beyond his wildest dreams. But as he looked at Krona, he saw fear in her eyes. "We must go," she said urgently. "Nexus is not done with us yet." Zephyrian nodded, activating his power to slow time once more. As they raced towards the edge of the cliff overlooking a valley below, Nexus roared in frustration as he was left frozen in mid-step. With Krona at his side, Zephyrian leapt off the cliff into the unknown, leaving the broken city and its secrets behind. As they soared through the air, Zephyrian felt a strange sense of calm wash over him. He knew that he had made a decision, a choice that would change everything. But he also knew that he was ready to face whatever challenges came his way. The fate of humanity hung in the balance, and he couldn't afford to falter now. As they landed on solid ground, Zephyrian looked back at the broken city one last time. He could feel the power surging through him, a testament to the choices he had made and the path he was destined to walk. With Krona by his side, he set off towards whatever awaited them in the forgotten world beyond. The journey would be long and fraught with danger, but Zephyrian knew that he was ready. He had embraced the power within him, and he was determined to use it to save humanity from Nexus' twisted ambitions. The fate of the world rested on his shoulders, but he wasn't afraid. For now, the sun set on a broken world, shattered by time's relentless march, leaving Zephyrian and Krona to face whatever challenges awaited them in the shadows. But they were not alone, they had each other, and that was all that mattered. Together, they would face whatever came their way, determined to restore hope to a world on the brink of collapse. The duo landed hard on the broken world below, skidding across gravel and shattered stone. Zephyrian's heart raced as he clutched the relic tightly. "We have to keep moving," he said urgently, scanning the horizon for any sign of Nexus forces. They traversed a barren valley, its once lush landscape now reduced to a desolate wasteland. The air was thick with dust and debris, choking them as they made their way deeper into the broken world. As they ventured further from the city, the ruins became more scattered and dilapidated, until eventually all evidence of civilization seemed erased by time itself. "We're getting close," Krona murmured, her eyes scanning the horizon for any sign of the ancient city. I can feel it. The landscape suddenly shifted, revealing a narrow tunnel carved into the earth. Zephyrian hesitated, glancing back at the valley below. What if they catch up to us here? He asked nervously. We won't survive another confrontation with Nexus, Krona replied sternly. We must press on. They entered the tunnel and found themselves in a vast, ancient chamber filled with crumbling statues and shattered artifacts. A faint light emanated from the far wall, revealing an opening that led to what appeared to be another city. Zephyrian's heart raced as he approached the entrance, his senses tingling with anticipation. This is it, Krona said softly, awestruck by the sight before them. The forgotten city. They stepped into the ruins, marveling at the intricate architecture that seemed to defy time itself. As they ventured deeper into the city, they encountered strange creatures, twisted and mutated by Nexus influence. Zephyrian struggled to maintain control over his powers as he fought off the monstrous beasts, his heart pounding in his chest with each passing moment. This is what we were trying to avoid, Krona said grimly, her sword flashing through the air as she dispatched a creature. We have to find the relic before they do. They continued their search through the city's ruins, fighting off Nexus twisted creations at every turn. As they neared the heart of the ancient city, Zephyrian felt a sudden surge of energy coursing through him. He gasped as his body began to change, his muscles bulging and his skin hardening into something more than human. What's happening? Krona asked, her eyes wide with fear. Zephyrian struggled to maintain control over the transformation, feeling a strange connection to the world around him. I don't know, he said, his voice cracking with effort. But I think it's related to the relic. They reached the heart of the city, finding themselves in a massive library filled with ancient texts and artifacts. In the center of the room stood another massive artifact identical to the one they possessed. Zephyrian felt a strange pull towards it, his body shuddering as he approached. What are you doing? Krona demanded, grabbing him by the arm. Zephyrian looked at her with unfocused eyes. I don't know, he said softly, but I can feel the power of this place. As they stood before the massive artifact, the library around them began to tremble. A shadowy figure emerged from the darkness, revealing Nexus standing before them, his twisted grin chilling Zephyrian to the bone. Ah, Zephyrian, he said softly, approaching the duo menacingly. I've been expecting you. Zephyrian struggled against Krona's grip, feeling a strange power coursing through him as he faced off against Nexus. What do you want with me? He demanded, his voice echoing through the library. Nexus chuckled darkly. I want what you have, he said, extending a hand towards the artifact. The power to bend time itself. Zephyrian clenched his fists, feeling the relic pulsating with energy within his grasp. You'll never take it from me, he vowed, his eyes blazing with determination. As they stood before each other, the library shook violently. Time itself seemed to warp and twist around them, creating a kaleidoscope of images that threatened to consume them whole. Zephyrian struggled against Nexus' influence, feeling his powers surging within him as he fought to maintain control over the situation. You underestimate me, Zephyrian, Nexus sneered, his twisted grin never faltering. I have already claimed what I seek. Zephyrian felt a sudden surge of anger coursing through him, his body transforming into something more than human as he prepared to face off against Nexus once and for all. You may have my power, he said defiantly, but you'll never take my spirit. The battle raged on, shaking the very foundations of the ancient city. As they fought, Zephyrian felt his connection to the world around him growing stronger, allowing him to tap into the raw power of time itself. With a final burst of strength, he managed to overpower Nexus and send him tumbling through the library's shattered windows. We did it, Krona breathed, her eyes wide with disbelief as they looked down at the broken figure below. Zephyrian nodded, feeling a strange sense of peace wash over him. Yes, he said softly, we did. Temporal-Fusion-Sanctuary. Zephyrian and Krona found themselves running through the ruins of an ancient city, the massive artifact pulsing with energy in their hands. The once great city was now a desolate landscape, crumbling under the weight of time's relentless march. They could see Nexus forces scouring the ruins for them from afar. "We have to keep moving," Zephyrian shouted over his shoulder as they sprinted towards the valley below. "The relic is too powerful to let fall into their hands." Krona nodded, her eyes scanning the horizon for any signs of danger. As they approached the cliff's edge, a strange creature emerged from the shadows, one of Nexus' twisted creations. Its body was a grotesque amalgamation of organic and mechanical parts, its eyes burning with an eerie light. "Run!" Krona shouted, pushing Zephyrian towards the cliffside. They leapt off the edge just as the creature lunged at them, its twisted form slamming into the ground where they had been standing moments before. They landed hard on the valley floor, rolling to a stop just in time to see another of Nexus creations charging towards them. Zephyrian activated his powers, slowing down time around himself and Krona while speeding up the creature, causing it to collide with a tree and shatter into pieces. "We can't keep doing this," Krona said as she helped Zephyrian to his feet. "We need to find a way to take on Nexus directly." Zephyrian nodded, feeling the weight of their predicament bearing down upon him. He knew that they would have to face Nexus eventually, and he was terrified of what that might mean for them both. But he couldn't let his fear rule him, not when humanity's fate hung in the balance. "We'll find a way," Zephyrian said, determination hardening his voice. "Together, we can stop Nexus." With renewed resolve, they continued their journey deeper into the ruins, facing new challenges and strange creatures at every turn. As they delved further into the heart of the broken city, they began to uncover the truth about the temporal anomaly and its connection to themselves, revealing a larger conspiracy that could reshape the entire universe. But Nexus was always one step ahead, his forces relentlessly pursuing them as they raced against time to save humanity from destruction. Zephyrian knew that their journey would be fraught with danger and uncertainty, but he also knew that he couldn't let go of hope, not when everything was at stake. The wind howled around Zephyrian as he stood at the cliff's edge, gazing out over a vast valley below. The once great city lay shattered, its ruins scattered across the landscape like discarded bones. "We must find the ancient library," Krona said, her voice barely audible above the wind. "It holds the key to understanding your power." Zephyrian nodded grimly, his eyes never leaving the broken city below. He could feel it calling to him, beckoning him forward with a promise of answers he desperately sought. But something else lurked there as well, a darkness that seemed to grow stronger with every passing second. As they ventured deeper into the ruins, the air grew thick with tension, the ground shook beneath their feet, and strange creatures scuttled from shadow to shadow, watching them warily. Zephyrian gritted his teeth as he felt the power within him surging, desperate to be unleashed. But he held back, knowing that control was crucial if they were to survive. They moved through the forgotten city's ruins like ghosts, their every step echoing eerily off the crumbling walls. As they approached the ancient library, Zephyrian could feel the energy emanating from it, pulsing with a power that seemed almost alive. "We must be careful," Krona warned. "Nexus forces are nearby." Zephyrian nodded again, drawing his weapon tighter in his grip. He felt the weight of the world on his shoulders, the fate of humanity resting in his hands. But he couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to this story than he understood. As they entered the library, Zephyrian could feel the air growing colder, the energy around them pulsing with an intensity that made his heart race. He glanced at Krona, her eyes wide as she stared at the massive artifact at the center of the room. "This is it," she murmured, her voice barely audible. "The source of your power." Zephyrian stepped forward, his pulse pounding in his ears. He could feel the energy coursing through him, a torrent that threatened to consume him whole. He reached out, his fingers trembling as they brushed against the artifact. A surge of energy coursed through him, making him stumble back. The room seemed to shake around them, and a cacophony of voices filled his head. Images flashed through his mind, shards of memories that threatened to overwhelm him. Zephyrian, Krona's voice cut through the chaos. What did you see? He struggled to focus, the energy still coursing through him like a river. I saw everything, he stammered. I saw us fighting Nexus and his twisted creations. I saw the destruction of the world, but also hope. Krona's eyes narrowed. What do you mean? Zephyrian looked at her, determination burning in his gaze. We can stop him, he said resolutely. We can save humanity and bring an end to this madness. A smile tugged at Krona's lips as she nodded. Then let us go forth and face whatever lies ahead together. The wind howled around them as they left the library, ready to confront Nexus and his forces. The fate of the world rested on their shoulders, but Zephyrian felt a newfound resolve burning within him. He would not falter, no matter the cost. For humanity's sake, he would face whatever lay ahead and bring an end to the apocalypse. Temporal-Fusion-Sanctuary Zephyrian stood atop a desolate cliff, gazing out over the vast valley below as the sun set on the broken world. Krona, standing beside him, traced a pattern in the sand with her finger, the remnants of ancient magic still lingering in her fingertips. I have searched my entire life for this place, and now we stand at its threshold, she whispered. The relic lies within. Zephyrian took a deep breath, the memories of their journey flooding back, the abandoned cities, the strange creatures they encountered, and the ever-present danger from Nexus's forces. He felt his heart race as he thought about what lay ahead. We must be cautious, Krona warned, sensing his tension. Nexus is clever, and I fear he may have anticipated our arrival. A sudden rumbling echoed through the air, causing them both to glance upwards. In the distance, a cloud of dust billowed from a nearby city, followed by the distant roar of engines. Nexus's forces had found them. We cannot waste time, Zephyrian said grimly. They will reach the library before us if we do not act quickly. Together, they raced down the cliffside and into the heart of the broken city. As they ran through the ruins, they heard the sounds of battle growing louder. They knew Nexus's forces were close behind them. We must split up, Krona said as they reached the ancient library's entrance. I will distract them while you find the relic. Zephyrian hesitated for a moment, but he knew she was right. He could feel the power of the relic calling to him, and he couldn't afford to lose it to Nexus. I won't let anything happen to you, he said, gripping her hand tightly. Stay safe. Krona gave him a small smile and stepped out into the chaos of the battlefield, her magic flaring brightly as she fought off wave after wave of twisted creatures. Zephyrian watched from the safety of the library, his heart pounding in his chest as he prepared to face the unknown. He could feel the energy pulsating through the air, the power of the relic growing stronger with every second that passed. He knew it was time. Taking a deep breath, Zephyrian stepped forward and reached out towards the ancient artifact. As soon as his hand made contact, he felt a surge of energy coursing through his body. The library shook violently as a massive explosion rocked the city, sending debris flying everywhere. Zephyrian stumbled backwards, trying to hold onto his newfound power as the chaos swirled around him. He could feel Krona's presence fading, and he knew he had to find her before it was too late. He ran back towards the entrance, dodging through the rubble and fighting off twisted creatures that attacked him on all sides. As he reached the battlefield, he saw Krona lying motionless on the ground. He rushed to her side, his heart aching as he saw the blood trickling from a wound in her chest. Krona, he whispered, tears streaming down his face. Please, don't leave me. She opened her eyes slightly and gave him a weak smile. You must go on without me, Zephyrian, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Find the relic and save humanity. Zephyrian clenched his fists as a rage burned within him. He couldn't lose Krona now. He wouldn't let Nexus win. With newfound determination, he stood up and turned to face the remaining twisted creatures. I won't let you take this from me, Zephyrian shouted, his voice echoing through the ruins as he unleashed a torrent of time magic at the approaching enemy. The creatures howled in pain as they were struck down one by one. As the battle raged on, Zephyrian could feel the presence of Nexus growing stronger. He knew it was only a matter of time before the madman arrived to claim the relic for himself. Zephyrian gritted his teeth and fought with every ounce of strength he had left, determined to protect the artifact at all costs. Finally, as the last twisted creature fell, Zephyrian turned to Nexus, who stood before him, a twisted grin on his face. "Well, little temporal anomaly," Nexus sneered. "I've been waiting for this moment." Zephyrian steeled himself for the coming confrontation, knowing that he had no choice but to stand and fight. The fate of humanity hung in the balance, and he couldn't let it slip through his fingers now. As they clashed in a final battle for control of the relic, the world trembled around them, the very fabric of time threatening to collapse under the strain. In the heart of a vast valley, a desolate landscape sprawled out before them. The remnants of once great cities were now but dusty ruins, crumbling under time's relentless march. A broken city lay in ruins nearby, its highest tower still standing tall amidst the chaos. Zephyrian stood atop a cliff overlooking the valley below, gazing out upon the broken world. His heart heavy with sorrow and guilt, he struggled to understand his newfound powers and the fate of humanity's future. Krona appeared at his side, her eyes filled with determination. "Zephyrian," she whispered softly, "the relic is not gone. It lies hidden within this city. But how do we find it?" Zephyrian asked, frustration creeping into his voice. "Nexus forces have scoured the ruins for us. They will never stop until they find what we seek." Krona nodded, her gaze fixed on the city below them. "We must tread carefully," she warned. "The relic is guarded by Nexus's twisted creations. They are unlike anything we've ever seen before." Zephyrian clenched his fists, a surge of anger coursing through him. "I will not rest until I confront Nexus and put an end to this madness," he declared, determination burning in his eyes. Krona reached out and placed a hand on his shoulder. "Zephyrian, you must be careful. Your powers are still unstable. The relic holds the key to unlocking your true potential, but it also threatens to destroy us both." Zephyrian sighed, his eyes dropping to the ground. "I know," he admitted quietly. "But I cannot bear the thought of living in this broken world any longer. We must find the relic and put an end to Nexus' machinations once and for all." The two stood silently for a moment, taking in the sight before them. A narrow tunnel led into the heart of the city, its entrance hidden amongst the ruins. "We have no other choice," Krona said finally, her voice filled with resolution. "Let us find the relic and put an end to this nightmare." Together they descended into the forgotten city's ruins, their hearts heavy with the weight of the world upon their shoulders. The tunnel led them through dark, twisting passages, each one filled with danger and uncertainty. But they pressed onward, driven by a shared purpose, to save humanity from the apocalypse. As they ventured deeper into the city, strange creatures lurked in the shadows. Their eyes glowed with an eerie light, and their movements were quick and silent. Zephyrian's powers flickered and surged within him, a constant reminder of the relic's presence nearby. Finally, they came upon a vast and ancient chamber. The air was thick with energy, and the walls seemed to pulse with power. In the center of the room stood an enormous artifact, its surface etched with symbols that glowed with an otherworldly light. It was the relic, and it pulsed with a power unlike anything Zephyrian had ever felt before. Nexus's forces were nowhere to be seen, but the chamber seemed to hum with their presence. A sense of dread filled Zephyrian as he approached the artifact. He could feel Nexus watching him, his malevolent gaze like a cold wind that sent shivers down his spine. "You have come far, temporal anomaly," a voice echoed through the chamber. "But your time is running out." Zephyrian turned slowly, his eyes locked on the figure standing atop a broken tower in the center of the room. Nexus' twisted creations surrounded him, their bodies distorted and grotesque, like living nightmares brought to life. "You underestimate me." Zephyrian spat back, his voice filled with defiance. "I will not let you destroy humanity." Nexus laughed cruelly. "Humanity is already lost, temporal anomaly. But I will give you a chance to join me and embrace the power of time itself." Together, we can reshape the universe in our image. Zephyrian hesitated for a moment, torn between his desire to save humanity and the allure of immense power. But he knew that to join Nexus would mean betraying everything he stood for. "I will never serve you," Zephyrian declared, his voice firm and resolute. "I will find another way." Nexus's laughter echoed through the chamber as he disappeared, leaving Zephyrian alone with his twisted creations. The relic called to him, its power like a siren's song that threatened to consume him whole. But he knew he could not give in. He had come too far and sacrificed too much to turn back now. Zephyrian reached out, his hand trembling as it touched the relic. A surge of energy coursed through him, filling him with a power unlike anything he had ever felt before. The room shook violently as the relic's power awakened within him, and Zephyrian knew that he had made a choice that would change the course of history. As the world around them crumbled, Zephyrian and Krona stood defiant against the tide of destruction. Together, they would face whatever challenges lay ahead, united in their determination to save humanity from the apocalypse. And though the path before them was uncertain, one thing was clear: they would not go quietly into the night. Temporal-Fusion-Sanctuary. In the heart of a once great city, Zephyrian and Krona stood atop a crumbling tower, gazing upon the broken world shattered by time's relentless march. The air was thick with tension as they surveyed the devastation below, vast valleys, ancient ruins, and distant cities consumed by darkness. "What do we do now?" Krona asked, her voice barely a whisper against the wind. "We must find Nexus's base of operations," Zephyrian replied with determination in his eyes, "and put an end to this madness." They descended into the city ruins, navigating through narrow tunnels and vast chambers. As they ventured deeper, strange creatures created by Nexus slithered from the shadows, their eyes glowing menacingly. With a flick of his wrist, Zephyrian manipulated time around them, disorienting the monstrosities and allowing him to strike swiftly. In one such encounter, they stumbled upon a hidden passageway leading to a vast and ancient chamber. The walls were adorned with intricate carvings that seemed to dance before their eyes as Zephyrian's power flowed around them. At the center of the room lay an ancient artifact, a massive relic pulsing with energy. As Krona approached, a sudden tremor shook the chamber, and Nexus appeared before them. His eyes glowed with malice. "You dare to challenge me?" he sneered. With a flick of his wrist, he summoned several twisted creations. Zephyrian braced himself, feeling the weight of the fate of humanity resting upon his shoulders. With a battle cry, they fought against Nexus and his forces, using all their wit and strength to overcome the onslaught. But as they battled, Zephyrian felt something within him changing, a connection to the very fabric of time itself. Suddenly, he understood the source of the anomaly, and a newfound power surged through him. In that moment, he realized the truth about his powers. They were not just an external force, but a part of him. With renewed determination, Zephyrian focused his energy on Nexus, striking with the force of 1,000 suns. The air shimmered as time bent and twisted around them, creating a chasm that threatened to swallow both sides. Zephyrian stood at the edge of a cliff, looking out over vast valleys and distant cities. The wind howled around him, carrying with it echoes of his past struggles and the weight of his newfound power. Krona appeared beside him, her eyes filled with concern. "I understand your concerns," Zephyrian said, turning to her, "but I cannot ignore the truth any longer. This world needs saving, and I must do everything in my power to accomplish it. But at what cost?" Krona asked, taking his hand. "You've already paid dearly for abilities, Zephyrian. Can you bear more?" Zephyrian hesitated, staring into the distance before answering, "I don't know, but I must try." As they turned to leave, a strange creature emerged from the ruins behind them. Its twisted form pulsed with energy, its eyes glowing in an unnatural green. Zephyrian felt his own power stir within him, a growing hunger that threatened to consume him. With a roar, he charged toward the creature, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. As they battled, Krona watched in horror as Zephyrian's powers grew stronger. He fought with a ferocity she had never seen before, but it came at a cost. His eyes glowed brighter and brighter, until they were like twin suns. She knew that if he continued down this path, he would surely destroy himself. The creature finally fell beneath Zephyrian's onslaught, but not without causing damage to the already broken world around them. They stared at each other for a moment, both panting and exhausted. "We must find a way to control your powers," Krona said urgently. "They're consuming you." And Temporal-Fusion-Sanctuary. In the heart of a vast valley, the air was thick with tension. Zephyrian clung to Krona's side, struggling to contain the raw power coursing through him. His eyes burned with an uncontrollable energy that threatened to consume everything around it. He could feel the pressure building within him, like a storm gathering on the horizon, waiting for the perfect moment to break loose. "We must find a way to control this," Krona whispered, her voice barely audible over the howling wind. "Or we may not survive." Zephyrian nodded, his gaze fixed on the distant city that loomed in the distance. He could feel a strange pull emanating from it, a magnetic draw that seemed to beckon him towards its ancient heart. But as they approached, the landscape changed dramatically, the ground shaking beneath their feet as if the very earth was trying to repel them. "What is happening?" Krona asked, her eyes wide with fear. Zephyrian could only shake his head. "I do not know," he admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. As they continued onwards, they were confronted by one of Nexus's twisted creations. The creature towered over them, its form a grotesque amalgamation of flesh and metal, its eyes burning with an unnatural light that seemed to see through time itself. With a roar, it lunged towards them, its limbs snapping and crackling with energy. Krona reacted instinctively, her body flowing like water as she dodged and weaved around the creature's attacks. Zephyrian, however, was unable to keep up. The power coursing through him was too much, his movements sluggish and heavy. He could feel himself being pulled towards the creature, its unnatural energy seeking to merge with his own. With a cry of desperation, Zephyrian reached deep within himself, channeling every ounce of strength he had into a single blast of power. The earth beneath them shook as the force of his attack sent the creature flying backwards, landing in a crater far off in the distance. "We cannot stay here," Krona said urgently, her eyes scanning the landscape around them. "We must find some place safe." Zephyrian nodded, his gaze fixed on the distant city once more. He could feel the pull growing stronger, the magnetic draw beckoning him towards it. But as they approached, he began to notice something strange. The city was not completely abandoned. There were structures still standing, their windows glowing with an eerie light. And as they moved closer, Zephyrian could hear sounds coming from within, sounds of life. With a determination born of desperation, Zephyrian and Krona pushed onwards, determined to find out what secrets the city held, and if it could be their salvation. As they ventured deeper into the ruins, they began to uncover evidence of a hidden society that had managed to survive the apocalypse. But as they delved further, they realized that this society was not alone. Nexus's forces were everywhere, scouring the ruins for any sign of the relic and those who sought to stop him. And with every step closer to the heart of the city, the danger grew more intense. But Zephyrian and Krona pressed on, driven by a determination that refused to be stopped. As they reached the ancient library at the heart of the city, they found themselves confronted by Nexus himself. He stood before them, his eyes burning with an intensity that seemed to pierce through time itself. "You have come far," he said, his voice dripping with malice. "But it was always inevitable that you would find me." Zephyrian stepped forward, his gaze never wavering from Nexus's twisted visage. "I will not let you destroy everything," he declared, his voice filled with defiance. Nexus chuckled, a cold and mocking sound. "You think you can stop me?" He gestured to the strange creatures that surrounded them, their eyes burning with an unnatural light. "These are but the beginning of my creations. The power I possess is beyond your comprehension." Zephyrian clenched his fists, feeling the raw energy coursing through him. "I will not go quietly," his voice filled with determination. Nexus's eyes narrowed, a cruel smile spreading across his face. "Then let us see if you are truly worthy of standing against me." With that, the battle began. Zephyrian and Krona fought with all their might, determined to protect themselves and the world from Nexus's twisted ambitions. But as the fight raged on, Zephyrian could feel himself slipping, the power coursing through him growing out of control. He could feel himself being consumed by it, his body shaking with the effort of holding on to his humanity. But in that moment, Krona stepped forward, her eyes filled with a fierce determination. "You are more than this," she said, her voice ringing out above the din of battle. "You have the power to save us all." With a cry of defiance, Zephyrian channeled every ounce of strength he had into one final attack. The earth shook as the force of his blast sent Nexus flying backwards, landing in a crater far off in the distance. As they watched him disappear from sight, Zephyrian felt a strange sensation wash over him, like a weight being lifted from his shoulders. "We did it," Krona said, her voice filled with relief. "But we cannot rest yet." Zephyrian nodded, his gaze fixed on the distant city that had once held their salvation. He could feel the pull of Nexus's power still lingering within him, a constant reminder of the battle they had fought and won. But as he looked at Krona, he knew that they would continue to fight, to protect themselves and the world from those who sought to destroy it, for they were more than just survivors. They were heroes. And together, they would face whatever challenges came their way. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the desolate landscape as Zephyrian and Krona trekked towards their next destination. The remnants of a once great city lay before them, its towering ruins a testament to a world long gone. A distant cliff marked their objective, the hidden passageway that would lead them to the heart of this ancient city. "We must be careful," Krona warned as they approached the base of the cliff. "Nexus's forces have been scouring these ruins for us, and I fear we may not find what we seek if we're not careful." Zephyrian nodded, his eyes sweeping over the broken world around them. The air felt heavy with tension, as if time itself was pressing down upon them. He could feel the remnants of Nexus's twisted creations lurking in the shadows, waiting for the opportunity to strike. As they made their way up the cliff, Zephyrian felt a strange energy coursing through him, a power he didn't fully understand but knew could be harnessed if he was careful. He hesitated, wondering what this newfound ability meant and whether it would help them in their quest to save humanity. At the top of the cliff, they found the hidden passageway, a narrow tunnel that cut through the heart of the broken city. With trepidation, Zephyrian stepped into the darkness, Krona close behind. As they ventured deeper, he could feel time itself bending around them, twisting and contorting as if it were alive. He knew that whatever lay at the end of this tunnel would change everything. The tunnel opened up into a vast and ancient chamber, filled with dust and debris. A massive artifact pulsed with energy in the center of the room, its surface etched with symbols and runes that Zephyrian couldn't decipher. He took a step towards it, his heart pounding in his chest as he felt a sudden surge of power course through him. Suddenly, movement caught his eye. A strange creature lurked in the shadows, its eyes glowing with an unnatural light. Zephyrian raised his hands, unsure if he could control this newfound power, but determined to protect Krona. With a thought, he felt time slow around him, the creature frozen mid-movement as it stared at him with malevolent intent. "What is this?" Krona whispered, her eyes wide with fear and awe. "You've never done that before." Zephyrian shook his head, still unsure of what was happening to him. He felt a strange sense of connection to the artifact, as if it was calling to him, urging him to unlock its secrets. With a deep breath, he approached the relic, his heart pounding in his chest. As he touched the artifact, he felt a sudden rush of energy flow through him, his senses heightening as he gained an understanding of the relic's true power. He knew then that this was what he had been searching for, the key to saving humanity and putting an end to Nexus once and for all. But with great power comes great responsibility, and Zephyrian knew that he would have to make difficult choices if he was to succeed in his quest. As he stood before the ancient relic, he felt a strange sense of peace wash over him. He knew that whatever lay ahead, he would face it head-on, with courage and determination. Temporal-Fusion-Sanctuary. The air hung heavy with tension as Zephyrian stood at the mouth of the hidden passageway, the ancient artifact pulsating in his grasp. Krona's eyes shone with determination as she looked upon Nexus's forces, her hand gripping the hilt of her sword. The broken world stretched out before them, a desolate landscape littered with the remnants of once great cities and the twisted creations of Nexus. "We cannot let him continue," Krona said, her voice echoing through the abandoned city's ruins. "He will destroy everything." Zephyrian nodded grimly, feeling the energy of the relic coursing through his veins, strengthening his resolve. He glanced at the massive artifact in his hand, feeling its power grow stronger as time passed. With a deep breath, he stepped forward, ready to confront Nexus and end the apocalypse once and for all. As they ventured deeper into the forgotten city, Zephyrian could feel the presence of Nexus's forces lurking nearby, their twisted forms twisting and contorting in the shadows. He clenched his jaw, focusing on the energy surging through him, feeling its potential growing stronger with each passing moment. "We must be careful," Krona warned, her eyes scanning the surrounding ruins for any signs of danger. "Nexus will not make this easy." Zephyrian nodded, focusing on his abilities, feeling the weight of his decision pressing down upon him. He knew that they would have to face Nexus and his twisted creations soon, but he couldn't shake the feeling that their fate was already sealed. As they entered a vast chamber, Zephyrian could feel the energy of the artifact growing stronger, filling the air with a sense of purpose. In the center of the room stood Nexus, his twisted form radiating an evil aura as he gazed upon them with cold eyes. "You have come for the relic," Nexus said, his voice dripping with malice. "I knew you would eventually find it." Zephyrian stepped forward, feeling the power of the artifact swell within him. He looked directly into Nexus's eyes, feeling a surge of anger and determination wash over him. "You are wrong," he said, his voice shaking with emotion. "We won't let you destroy everything." Nexus chuckled, his twisted form twisting further as he sneered at them. "I have waited for this moment for millennia, child. I will not be denied my prize now." Zephyrian clenched his fists, feeling the energy of the relic coursing through him, filling him with a sense of purpose and resolve. He looked at Krona, feeling their shared determination as they prepared to confront Nexus and his twisted creations. "We will not let you take what is rightfully ours," Zephyrian said, his voice echoing through the chamber. "Nexus, prepare yourself. This ends now." As the battle raged on, Zephyrian felt the power of the artifact growing stronger within him, transforming him into a being unlike any other. His body shimmered and twisted, changing with each passing second as he harnessed the energy of time itself. He felt his mind expanding, his thoughts becoming clearer, his senses sharper. Krona fought alongside him, her blade flashing through the air as she cut down Nexus's twisted creations. They were a formidable force to be reckoned with, their combined power growing stronger with each passing moment. But even as they fought, Zephyrian couldn't shake the feeling that their victory was not assured. In the end, it was a struggle, but they managed to defeat Nexus and his twisted creations. As he lay there, panting and exhausted, Zephyrian could feel the weight of his decision pressing down upon him, filling him with a sense of regret and sorrow. He had saved humanity, but at what cost? "We did it," Krona said, her voice filled with relief as she looked upon the defeated Nexus. "But what have we become?" Zephyrian stared at the broken world around them, feeling a sense of loss wash over him. He had saved humanity, but at what cost? The apocalypse had changed them both, transforming them into beings unlike any other. He looked at Krona, feeling her pain and sorrow mirrored in his own eyes. "We did the right thing," he said, his voice echoing through the abandoned city's ruins. "But it doesn't change what we have become." As they stood there, watching the sun set over the broken world, Zephyrian couldn't help but feel a sense of melancholy wash over him. They had saved humanity, but at what cost? The apocalypse had changed them both, leaving them with a future they never could have imagined. "We have a long road ahead," Krona said, her voice filled with determination. "But we will face it together." Zephyrian nodded, feeling the weight of his decision pressing down upon him. He knew that their journey was far from over, but he couldn't shake the feeling that they had reached the end of one chapter and the beginning of another. As the sun set over the broken world, he felt a sense of hope wash over him, filling him with a renewed determination to face whatever lay ahead. In the heart of a broken city, Zephyrian and Krona stood atop a crumbling tower, looking out over vast valleys dotted with distant cities and shattered landscapes. The air was thick with tension as they prepared for their next move against Nexus's forces scouring the ruins for the ancient relic. "Are you ready?" Krona asked, her eyes never leaving the horizon. Zephyrian nodded, his mind whirling with thoughts of the past and the consequences of their actions. With a surge of energy, they leapt from the tower's edge, plummeting down towards the valley below. As they fell, time seemed to slow around them, allowing them to navigate through narrow tunnels and ancient chambers with graceful ease. Their abilities had grown stronger since their encounter with Nexus, but so too had the dangers lurking in the ruins. In one chamber, they encountered a strange creature, twisted and grotesque. It was unlike anything they had ever seen before. With a fierce determination, Zephyrian and Krona fought back, pushing themselves to new heights of power as they battled the monstrous being. Exhausted but victorious, they continued onward, their every step taking them closer to Nexus's base of operations hidden deep within the heart of the broken city. As they approached, they could sense the malevolent presence emanating from the ancient chamber, a cold darkness that chilled their hearts. With one final surge of strength, they burst into the chamber, ready to confront Nexus and his forces once and for all. But as they entered, they found themselves face to face not with Nexus but with the relic itself, an ancient artifact pulsing with untapped power that seemed to call out to them, beckoning them closer. Zephyrian hesitated, his mind filled with memories of their journey and the sacrifices they had made. Krona stood by his side, her eyes locked on the artifact. "We've come so far," she whispered, "but we can't forget who we are." With a heavy heart, Zephyrian reached out towards the relic, feeling the power surge through him as it responded to his touch. The room trembled around them as they began to unlock its secrets, their connection growing stronger with each passing moment. But just as they neared their goal, Nexus appeared before them, his twisted laughter echoing through the chamber. "I see you've found my prize," he sneered. "But it won't be so easy for you to claim it." With a fierce battle ensuing, Zephyrian and Krona fought tooth and nail against Nexus and his forces. The air crackled with energy as they unleashed their powers, each strike sending shockwaves through the chamber. But even as they pushed themselves further than ever before, they couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong, that they were on a collision course with a fate they couldn't escape. As the battle raged on, Zephyrian looked deep into Krona's eyes, his heart swelling with love and concern. "I don't want to lose you," he whispered. "No matter what happens, we'll face it together." With a final surge of strength, they defeated Nexus and his forces, but the victory was short-lived as the relic surged with power, threatening to consume them both. As their world shattered around them, Zephyrian and Krona clung to each other, knowing that whatever lay ahead, they would face it together, as heroes, as friends, and as beings forever changed by the apocalypse. Temporal-Fusion-Sanctuary Zephyrian stood atop a desolate cliff, gazing upon the vast valley below. The broken world stretched out before him like a mangled tapestry, its once great cities now reduced to ruins. The air was thick with the scent of decay and sorrow. He felt Krona's presence nearby, her thoughts heavy with worry. "Zephyrian," she said softly, "we cannot linger here for long. Nexus is still out there and his forces are searching for us." He nodded, turning to face the ruins of a once great city in the distance. "I know, Krona. But we must find the heart of this broken world if we ever hope to understand the source of the temporal anomaly within me." As they descended into the valley below, strange creatures skittered among the ruins, their eyes glowing with an eerie light. Zephyrian's grip tightened on his staff as he sensed their malevolent intent, knowing that one wrong move could trigger a confrontation. "These creatures are unlike any we have encountered before," Krona said, her voice edged with fear. "I wonder what Nexus has done to create them." Zephyrian's thoughts raced as he recalled the relic they had found in Nexus' base. It pulsed with energy, its true nature still a mystery. Could it be responsible for these twisted beings? They continued on, weaving through the broken city's ruins and narrow tunnels, always on guard against the creatures that lurked within the shadows. As they ventured deeper into the heart of the city, Zephyrian felt an overwhelming sense of unease wash over him, as if something was calling to him from the depths of the ancient chamber ahead. "We must be careful," Krona warned, sensing his growing agitation. "Nexus's forces are sure to be nearby." Zephyrian nodded, taking a deep breath before stepping into the vast and ancient chamber. The air was thick with dust and the scent of decay, but there was an undeniable energy that filled the space, a power that seemed to resonate within him. He could feel his powers surging, growing stronger with each step he took towards the massive artifact at the center of the room. As they approached, Zephyrian's eyes widened in shock. The artifact was unlike anything he had ever seen, a massive relic that pulsed with energy, its surface etched with symbols and runes that seemed to dance before his very eyes. He could feel its power coursing through him, filling him with a sense of purpose that was both exhilarating and terrifying. "Zephyrian," Krona whispered, her voice trembling with fear. "We must leave this place now." But Zephyrian's mind was already made up. He could not turn away from the artifact now. As he reached out to touch it, a sudden crash echoed through the chamber, and they turned to face Nexus and his twisted creations. The battle that followed was fierce and brutal, as Zephyrian and Krona fought tooth and nail against Nexus's forces. The artifact's energy coursed through them, granting them new powers and abilities that seemed almost godlike. But with every second that passed, the relic grew stronger, threatening to consume them both. Zephyrian felt his body begin to change as he fought, his skin hardening, muscles bulging, and eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. He was becoming something more than human, something greater, but at what cost? As the battle raged on, Zephyrian could feel himself slipping away, consumed by the relic's power. It was a struggle to hold on to his humanity, to remember who he truly was. And all the while, Krona fought valiantly beside him, her own powers growing with each passing moment. In the end, they emerged victorious, but at great cost. The relic had taken its toll on them both, leaving them battered and bruised, their bodies ravaged by the unimaginable power it held. As they stumbled from the chamber, Zephyrian felt a strange calm wash over him, a sense of purpose that he could not ignore. "Krona," he said, his voice heavy with determination, "I have a feeling we are only just beginning." They stood atop the cliff, gazing out upon the broken world below. Zephyrian felt a newfound strength coursing through him, a power that could change everything for better or for worse. He knew that their journey was far from over, and that the road ahead would be fraught with danger and challenges. But he also knew that he was ready to face whatever lay before them, no matter the cost. In the heart of a forgotten city, Zephyrian struggled against a towering creature born from Nexus's twisted ambitions. Its form shifted and morphed as they fought, an ever-changing adversary that seemed to grow stronger with each passing second. Krona watched in horror, her own powers straining to keep pace with the monster's relentless onslaught. With a cry of desperation, Zephyrian summoned forth the relic he had earned from their previous encounter, its energy crackling through his body as he fought for control over his newfound abilities. The creature roared in response, its form warping into something even more terrifying than before. "Zephyrian," Krona shouted, her voice echoing through the ancient ruins. "You must focus. Remember why you fight." The words pierced him like a dagger, reminding Zephyrian of all that he stood to lose if he failed in his quest. His resolve hardened, and with a surge of power, he pushed back against the creature's attacks. The battle raged on for what felt like an eternity, but gradually, Zephyrian began to gain the upper hand. Finally, with one mighty blow, Zephyrian sent the twisted creature tumbling from the broken tower they had fought upon. It crashed into the valley below, leaving a trail of destruction in its wake. Exhausted, Zephyrian collapsed onto the shattered remains of the city's highest tower, panting heavily. Krona rushed to his side, her concern etched across her face. "Are you all right?" she asked, her voice trembling with fear and relief. Zephyrian stared up at the broken sky above, feeling drained but determined. "I'm fine," he managed to say, struggling to catch his breath. "But we can't rest for long. Nexus will send more of those creatures after us." "You're right," Krona agreed, helping Zephyrian to his feet. "We need to find another artifact. One that can give us an edge against him." Together, they made their way through the ruined city, their footsteps echoing in the empty streets as they searched for clues about the next relic's location. As they ventured deeper into the heart of the ancient city, they found themselves faced with a choice: follow the path that led to the next artifact, or continue on the dangerous journey towards Nexus's base of operations. With heavy hearts, Zephyrian and Krona chose to press forward. They knew that facing Nexus was inevitable, but they hoped that finding more power would give them the edge they needed to defeat him once and for all. As they made their way through a hidden passageway, the walls seemed to close in around them, the air growing thick with tension. The weight of their mission settled upon Zephyrian's shoulders, and he couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching them from the darkness beyond the light of their torches. But they pressed on, determined to uncover the truth about the temporal anomaly and save humanity from Nexus's twisted plans. The journey would not be easy, but Zephyrian had come too far to turn back now. He was a temporal anomaly, a guardian of time itself, and he would stop at nothing to protect those he loved and the world they fought so hard to save. Temporal-Fusion-Sanctuary. As Zephyrian and Krona delved further into the ancient city, they stumbled upon a hidden passageway leading to a vast and ancient chamber. The air in the room was thick with an energy that pulsed like a heartbeat. In the center stood a massive artifact that seemed to defy description. It radiated power, dwarfing even the relics they had encountered before. "This is it," Krona whispered, her eyes wide with awe and fear. The source of the temporal anomaly. Zephyrian stared at the artifact, feeling a strange sense of familiarity over him. "I feel like I've seen this somewhere before." Suddenly they heard the sound of footsteps echoing through the chamber. They knew that Nexus and his forces were close behind them. The air in the room grew colder, and Zephyrian felt a shiver run down his spine. "We have to act fast," Krona said urgently. "If Nexus gets hold of this artifact, he'll be unstoppable." Together, they approached the massive artifact, feeling its power surging through them. Zephyrian reached out a trembling hand and touched the relic. Immediately, he felt a searing pain that threatened to consume him. He gritted his teeth and focused, channeling all of his energy into the artifact. Suddenly, there was a blinding flash of light, and Zephyrian found himself standing on a desolate cliff overlooking a vast valley. The artifact pulsed with power at his side. He looked down at Krona, who lay unconscious at his feet. "What have I done?" he whispered, tears streaming down his face. He knew that this was the moment of truth. Would he use the artifact to save humanity or to save himself? In the heart of a once great city, Zephyrian stood atop a crumbling tower, clutched the pulsating relic, and gazed upon the distant cities shattered by time's relentless march. Nexus forces surrounded him, their twisted creations snarling with every move he made. "Zephyrian," Krona called weakly from below, her eyes filled with worry. "Don't let them take it." "I won't," Zephyrian vowed, his fists clenched around the relic. "But I need your help. Take my hand," she said, extending a trembling arm. As he reached for her, Krona's eyes narrowed. "No, you must do this alone. The choice is yours to make. Save humanity or become the next apocalypse." With a heavy heart, Zephyrian stepped forward, ready to face Nexus and his twisted creations. The air crackled with energy as Nexus approached, a wicked grin twisting his face. "You've come so far, Zephyrian," he taunted. "But you'll never understand the power of time." Zephyrian stood tall, his eyes blazing with determination. "I already do, and I won't let you destroy everything we hold dear." With a roar, Nexus lunged at him. Zephyrian dodged, feeling the relic pulsating in his grasp. Time seemed to slow around him as he took control, manipulating each second to his advantage. He darted and weaved through Nexus's forces, leaving destruction in his wake. The air grew thick with tension as Zephyrian faced off against Nexus. "You're wrong," Zephyrian whispered. "I understand time more than you ever could." Nexus cackled maniacally. "Then show me, boy. Prove that you have the power to change our broken world." With a surge of energy, Zephyrian hurled the relic at Nexus. The artifact struck him, and time seemed to collapse around them as they were both enveloped in a blinding flash. When the light faded, all that remained was a vast chamber, its walls covered in ancient symbols. Zephyrian looked around, his heart racing. He felt different, stronger, more connected to the world than ever before. "What have I done?" he whispered. Krona appeared beside him, her eyes filled with concern. "You've unlocked your true potential, Zephyrian," she said softly, "but at a terrible cost." As they stood in the vast chamber, Zephyrian felt the weight of his newfound powers and the responsibility that came with them. He knew that the fate of their broken world rested on his shoulders, and he would have to make the ultimate choice: save humanity or become the next apocalypse. Temporal-Fusion-Sanctuary, in the heart of the forgotten city, Zephyrian stood on the crumbling tower's edge. The shattered world lay before him, a vast panorama of valleys and distant cities marred by time's relentless march. Krona, her eyes glinting with determination, stood beside him. "We must find the hidden passageway," she said urgently, "the one that leads to Nexus base of operations." Zephyrian nodded grimly, feeling a surge of power coursing through his veins as he focused on the task at hand. Together they navigated the ruins, dodging strange creatures by Nexus and evading his forces scouring the area for them. As they approached a narrow tunnel, Zephyrian slowed time, allowing them to slip past Nexus soldiers undetected. Once in the ancient city, they followed clues left behind by Krona, their journey taking them through forgotten catacombs and vast chambers. In the heart of the ancient city, they discovered a massive artifact pulsating with energy. Zephyrian felt his powers surge within him as he approached it, his connection to time growing stronger than ever. But Nexus forces were closing in, and soon they were surrounded by twisted creations birthed from the apocalypse itself. With a cry of defiance, Zephyrian unleashed his powers, manipulating time around him to shatter the monstrous beasts. Krona fought alongside him, her sword slicing through the air with deadly precision. They battled their way deeper into the city, toward Nexus base of operations. Finally, they reached a vast chamber filled with ancient symbols and artifacts. At its center stood Nexus, his eyes gleaming with malevolence. As Zephyrian faced him, he felt a heavy weight settle upon his shoulders. The decision he had been dreading was now upon him: save humanity or embrace the apocalypse. Krona spoke softly. "Remember, Zephyrian, your choice will determine the fate of all existence." Zephyrian and Krona stood at the cliff's edge, gazing down into the vast valley below. The broken world stretched out before them, desolate landscapes of shattered cities and crumbling towers. A distant city shimmered on the horizon, but the path to it was fraught with danger. "We must be cautious," Krona warned, her eyes scanning the valley. "Nexus's forces patrol these areas." Zephyrian nodded, reaching out to touch the massive artifact that pulsed with energy at his side. It seemed to hum in response, reminding him of its power and the responsibility it placed upon him. He closed his eyes, focusing on slowing time around them as they stepped onto a narrow tunnel leading deeper into the ancient city. Inside, the air grew colder. Shadows danced across the walls as they passed through long-abandoned passageways. Zephyrian could feel Nexus forces searching for them, their presence an ever-present reminder of the danger lurking ahead. "We're being followed," Krona whispered, her hand tightening around the hilt of her sword. Zephyrian's heart raced as he quickened his step, slowing time to give them a few precious moments' head start. As they neared the end of the tunnel, a strange creature emerged from the shadows, snarling and baring its sharp teeth. "Time," Zephyrian said, reaching for the artifact. The world around them seemed to stretch as he accelerated time, making his movements fluid and graceful. He fought off the creature with practiced ease, feeling the adrenaline pump through him as they moved deeper into the ancient city. The tunnel opened onto a vast chamber filled with symbols and artifacts. Zephyrian could feel the power radiating from them, a palpable force that seemed to crackle in the air. In the center of the room stood another creature, its eyes glowing red as it growled menacingly. "We've been found," Krona said, readying her sword. Zephyrian focused on slowing time once more, feeling the world around them grind to a halt as they prepared to face down the monstrous beast. It lunged at them, claws scraping against the stone floor. Zephyrian dodged, twisting and turning with practiced ease as he fought off the creature's attacks. Krona fought alongside him, her sword flashing in the dim light. They moved as one, their movements fluid and precise, a dance of life and death played out within the ancient chamber. As the beast fell, Zephyrian could feel the weight of the world on his shoulders. The fate of humanity rested on his decisions, and he knew that there was no turning back now. He looked at Krona, her eyes locked onto his own. "Remember what's at stake," she said softly. "The future hangs in the balance." Zephyrian nodded, reaching out to touch the pulsating relic once more. Its power surged through him, filling him with a sense of purpose and resolve. He knew that he would face many challenges ahead, but he was ready to face them head-on. Temporal-Fusion-Sanctuary. Zephyrian stood at the edge of the vast valley, gazing out over the shattered landscapes that stretched before him. The ruins of once great cities littered the horizon, their towers crumbling beneath the weight of time. He could feel the relentless ticking of the clock in his very bones, each second echoing like a drumbeat that pulsed with an urgency he could not ignore. Krona appeared at his side, her eyes filled with concern. "Are you ready?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Zephyrian nodded, his resolve strengthened by the memory of their past battles and the knowledge that their journey had led them to this moment. "We cannot let Nexus destroy humanity," he said, determination etched in every line of his face. "I will use my powers to save us." With a deep breath, Zephyrian raised his arms to the sky, feeling the energy coursing through him like liquid fire. A brilliant light enveloped him as he began to manipulate time, the world around them slowing down until it seemed frozen in place. He could feel Krona's hand on his arm, a comforting presence that grounded him amidst the chaos of his powers. "We must find Nexus," he said, his voice crackling with the energy surging through him, "and put an end to this madness once and for all." As they stepped out onto the edge of the cliff, Zephyrian felt a sudden surge of fear. He knew that their journey had led them here, but he could not help but wonder if he was truly ready for the trials that lay ahead. With one last glance at Krona, he leaped off the cliff's edge, feeling the wind rushing past him as time seemed to stretch out before him like an endless expanse of possibility. They appeared in a narrow tunnel, its walls slick with moisture and dampness. The air was thick with the scent of decay and the distant echoes of time's relentless march. As they ventured deeper into the darkness, Zephyrian could feel his powers growing stronger, each step propelling him forward toward Nexus and the truth about the temporal anomaly that coursed through his veins. The tunnel opened up into a vast chamber, its walls adorned with ancient symbols and relics that seemed to dance in the flickering light of their torches. In the center of the room stood a massive artifact, pulsating with energy as it hummed softly to itself. Zephyrian felt a shiver run down his spine as he approached it, knowing instinctively that this was where they would find Nexus and confront him once and for all. They moved cautiously through the chamber, their eyes scanning every shadow and crevice for any sign of danger. As they reached the artifact, a sudden movement caught their attention, and they turned to see a strange creature emerging from the darkness. its body twisted and contorted like liquid metal, its eyes burning with an otherworldly light. "A creation of Nexus," Krona murmured, her grip tightening on her sword. "We must destroy it." The battle was fierce and brutal, their powers clashing in a dazzling display of energy that lit up the chamber like a second sun. The creature proved to be a formidable opponent, but they fought with every ounce of strength they had, determined to save humanity from Nexus' twisted ambitions. Finally, the creature lay defeated at their feet, its body dissolving into nothingness as it was consumed by time. Zephyrian felt a sense of relief wash over him, but he knew that this was only the beginning of their fight against Nexus and his forces. As they approached the artifact, Zephyrian felt a sudden surge of energy coursing through him. He reached out to touch the relic, feeling its power pulse in response. In that moment, he understood everything about himself and the temporal anomaly that had given him his powers. "The source of the time manipulation is not an outside force," Krona said softly, her voice filled with wonder. "It's a part of you." Zephyrian felt his world shatter around him as he realized the truth. He was the temporal anomaly, and with that knowledge came a sense of purpose that burned through him like wildfire. He knew now what he had to do. He would save humanity from Nexus' twisted ambitions, no matter the cost. With renewed determination, Zephyrian reached out to touch the relic once more, feeling its power course through him as he prepared to fulfill his destiny and save the world. But just as he did so, a sudden scream echoed through the chamber, and they turned to see Nexus standing before them, his eyes burning with malice. "I've been waiting for you," he said, his voice dripping with venom. "You may have defeated my creations, but I am the one who controls time itself." The battle raged on between Zephyrian and Nexus, the energy pulsating around them like a living thing. The once great city had been reduced to rubble beneath their feet, but neither of them seemed to notice. "You are just a pawn," Nexus sneered, his voice echoing through the vast chamber. "A mere tool in my grand design." Zephyrian gritted his teeth, his powers surging as he fought back against Nexus' twisted creations that surrounded them. He knew that this was more than just a battle for survival. It was a fight for the very fabric of reality itself. "I am no one's pawn," Zephyrian roared, his eyes flashing with determination. "And neither are the people I care about." Suddenly, Krona appeared at his side, her eyes filled with worry but her resolve unshaken. She reached out to him, and he took her hand, feeling a sudden surge of strength course through him. Together, they stood against Nexus, their powers merging as one. Nexus's laughter echoed throughout the chamber, his power growing stronger with each passing second. "You are no match for me," he taunted. "Your feeble attempts at resistance will be in vain." But Zephyrian was not so easily deterred. With a cry of defiance, he reached out to touch the relic once more. Time seemed to slow around them as the energy pulsed through him, and he felt his powers growing stronger with each passing second. "I am more than just a tool," Zephyrian said, his voice echoing throughout the chamber. "And I will not let you destroy this world." With a burst of energy, they struck at Nexus, their powers merging in a brilliant display of light that shook the very foundations of reality. The battle raged on, each blow sending shockwaves through the city, but neither side seemed to falter. As the minutes ticked away, Zephyrian felt his powers growing stronger with each passing second. He knew that this was their chance. If they could hold out just a little longer, they might have a chance to stop Nexus for good. But Nexus was not about to give up so easily. With a malevolent smile, he reached into the very fabric of reality, pulling forth strange creatures, unlike any Zephyrian had ever seen. They swarmed around him, their twisted forms distorting the air as they attacked with ferocity. Zephyrian fought back against them, his powers growing stronger with each passing second. But it seemed like an endless tide of monstrous beasts, each one more powerful than the last. He knew that he couldn't hold out much longer. Just when all hope seemed lost, Krona appeared at his side once more, her eyes filled with determination. Together, they fought against the creatures, their powers merging as one. They struck again and again, their blows sending shock waves through the city that shook the very foundations of reality. Finally, with a cry of defiance, Zephyrian reached out to touch the relic once more. Time seemed to slow around them as the energy pulsed through him, and he felt his powers growing stronger than ever before. With a final burst of energy, they struck at Nexus, their combined powers merging in a brilliant display that shook the world itself. Nexus screamed in rage as the ground beneath him shattered, sending him tumbling down into the depths below. The monstrous beasts howled in pain as they were swept away by the force of Zephyrian's powers, their twisted forms dissolving into nothingness. In that moment, Zephyrian felt a sense of peace wash over him. He had done it. He had defeated Nexus and saved the world from destruction. But as he looked around at the devastation wrought by the battle, he couldn't help but feel a twinge of sadness. So many lives had been lost in this struggle, and the world would never be the same again. But Zephyrian knew that he could not dwell on the past. He had made his choice. He would use his powers to protect the world and those he cared about, no matter what the cost. Together with Krona by his side, they would rebuild what had been lost and forge a new future for themselves and humanity. As the sun set over the broken city, Zephyrian looked out at the vast valley below. He knew that their journey was far from over, but he felt a sense of hope for the first time in a long time. With Krona by his side, he would face whatever challenges lay ahead and emerge victorious. And as the night fell, Zephyrian could feel the weight of the world lifting from his shoulders. He had made his choice. He would be a guardian of time, protecting the past, present, and future for all eternity. And with that thought, he closed his eyes, ready to face whatever lay ahead. The end. For now. But the story of Zephyrian and Krona was far from over. In the days, weeks, months, and years to come, they would face countless challenges and adversities, but they would always stand strong together, united in their quest to protect the world and those they loved. And with each passing day, they would grow stronger, their powers growing more potent as they faced the unknown. In the end, they would become legends, known throughout the ages as the defenders of time itself. But for now, they had a world to save, and they were ready to face whatever lay ahead. The battle was over, but the war was far from won. The sun set over the broken city, casting long shadows across the landscape. Zephyrian stood at the edge of the cliff, looking out at the vast valley below. He knew that their journey was just beginning, but he felt a sense of hope for the first time in a long time. With Krona by his side, they would face whatever challenges lay ahead and emerge victorious. And as the night fell, Zephyrian could feel the weight of the world lifting from his shoulders. He had made his choice. He would be a guardian of time, protecting the past, present, and future for all eternity. And with that thought, he closed his eyes, ready to face whatever lay ahead. The end, for now. But the story of Zephyrian and Krona was far from over. In the days, weeks, months, and years to come, they would face countless challenges and adversities, but they would always stand strong together, united in their quest to protect the world and those they loved. And with each passing day, they would grow stronger, their powers growing more potent as they faced the unknown. Temporal-Fusion-Sanctuary Zephyrian stood atop a desolate cliff, gazing out upon the broken landscape below. The once great city lay in shambles, a testament to the power and destruction Nexus had wrought. Krona stood beside him, her eyes filled with determination. "We've come so far," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "But the fight is far from over." Zephyrian nodded, feeling the weight of his powers pressing down on him. The time manipulation was still a part of him, and he struggled to keep it under control. He knew that the true battle was not against Nexus, but against himself. "I know," Zephyrian replied. "But I won't let this destroy me." They descended into the valley below, making their way through the ruins of the city. As they ventured deeper, they encountered strange creatures that seemed to have been twisted and mutated by Nexus's manipulation of time. Zephyrian felt a surge of anger at the thought of what this monster had done to his world. He knew he couldn't let it stand. As they moved through the ruins, they came upon a narrow tunnel leading into the heart of the broken city. With a deep breath, Zephyrian stepped forward, ready to face whatever lay within. Krona followed close behind, her eyes filled with resolve. Inside the tunnel, they found themselves in a vast and ancient chamber, filled with massive artifacts that pulsed with energy. At the center of the room stood a pedestal with an artifact atop it, the relic they sought. Zephyrian felt a strange pull towards the object, as if it called out to him. As they approached, they were suddenly surrounded by Nexus's forces, their twisted forms contorted and grotesque. Zephyrian tensed, ready to fight. Krona stepped in front of him protectively. "This is what you wanted," she said, her voice filled with anger. "You took everything from us. Now it ends." Zephyrian nodded, feeling a surge of determination. Together they fought against the twisted creatures, using every ounce of their combined strength to hold them back. The battle raged on for what felt like an eternity, but eventually they emerged victorious. Zephyrian felt a sense of exhaustion wash over him as he collapsed to his knees. "We did it," Krona said, her voice filled with relief. "But the relic, where is it?" Zephyrian looked around, searching for the artifact. It was gone, taken by Nexus himself. He knew that they couldn't let him get away. "We have to find Nexus," he said, standing up with a determined look in his eyes. "He won't stop until he has complete control over time." Together, they made their way through the ruins, searching for any sign of Nexus or the relic. As they moved deeper into the city, they encountered strange creatures that seemed to have been twisted and mutated by Nexus's manipulation of time. Zephyrian felt a surge of anger at the thought of what this monster had done to his world. He knew he couldn't let it stand. As they ventured deeper into the city, they found themselves in the heart of the ancient city, where they encountered Nexus himself. The enigmatic figure stood before them, a twisted smile on his face. "You've come to take what is rightfully mine," he said, his voice dripping with malice. "But I won't make it easy for you." Zephyrian felt a surge of determination as he prepared to engage the monster in battle. Krona stood beside him protectively, ready to fight for their world and for each other. The final battle against Nexus was upon them, and they knew that it would be a struggle like no other. They fought with everything they had, using every ounce of their combined strength to hold back the twisted being before them. Zephyrian felt his powers surge as he pushed himself to the limit, determined to end this once and for all. As the battle raged on, Krona suddenly cried out in pain, dropping to her knees. Zephyrian turned to see that Nexus had struck her, leaving a deep wound across her side. Enraged, he launched himself at the monster, determined to avenge his friend and save their world. With a final burst of energy, they struck at Nexus, causing a brilliant display that shook reality itself. Nexus was defeated, and the city lay in ruins. Zephyrian felt a sense of peace wash over him, knowing he had saved the world, but the devastation weighed heavily on his heart. With hope for the future, they prepared to rebuild and protect the world as guardians of time, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The battle was over, but the war was far from won. As they stood atop a cliff overlooking a valley, Zephyrian turned to Krona, his heart filled with gratitude. "Thank you," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "I don't know what I would have done without you." Krona smiled, her eyes filled with love and understanding. "We made it through together," she said, "and we will continue to do so." Zephyrian nodded, feeling a sense of peace wash over him. Together, they had faced the darkness and emerged victorious. They stood at the precipice of a new beginning, ready to rebuild their world and protect it from the threats that lay ahead. With hope in their hearts, they looked out upon the vast valley below, knowing that they would face whatever challenges came their way with courage and determination. Zephyrian's heart raced as he ran through the narrow tunnel, guided by Krona's voice echoing behind him. The once great city lay in ruins, shattered by time's relentless march. Behind them, Nexus forces scoured the ruins for the relic they had stolen from his twisted creations. "We are almost there," Krona called out. The artifact is hidden deep within the ancient city's ruins. They emerged into a vast chamber, the remnants of an age long past littering the floor. The air was thick with the scent of decay and dust, but Zephyrian could feel the energy emanating from the massive artifact that lay at the center of the room. He gripped his staff tightly, ready to defend himself against whatever horrors might emerge. As they approached the relic, a strange creature stirred in the shadows. It was unlike anything Zephyrian had ever seen before, its body twisted and grotesque, eyes glowing with an unnatural light. With a growl, it charged toward them. Zephyrian raised his staff, feeling the power of time surging through him as he prepared to face this abomination. Krona stood beside him, her sword at the ready. Together, they fought the monster with every ounce of strength they possessed. The battle was fierce and brutal, but eventually Zephyrian managed to strike the creature down. Exhausted, they caught their breaths as the adrenaline faded. Krona's injuries were severe, but she refused to show any weakness. "We must hurry," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Nexus forces will be here soon." They raced through the city, dodging collapsed buildings and evading Nexus twisted creations. As they climbed the broken tower, Zephyrian could see the valley below, filled with distant cities that were being overrun by Nexus forces. He felt a sense of urgency growing within him. He had to save humanity from this madman. As they reached the top of the crumbling tower, they found themselves facing the heart of the city. In the center stood Nexus himself, surrounded by his twisted creations. His eyes locked onto Zephyrian as he stepped forward. "You have come far, temporal anomaly," Nexus sneered. "But you will never stop me." Zephyrian felt a surge of power coursing through him, the energy of time pulsating within his veins. He knew that this was it, the moment he had been waiting for. With a cry, he charged toward Nexus, determined to put an end to the apocalypse once and for all. The final battle against Nexus was unlike anything either Zephyrian or Krona had ever experienced. They fought with everything they had, their bodies pushing beyond their limits. As they struggled against Nexus twisted creations, the city shook around them, crumbling under the strain of the battle. In the end, it was Zephyrian who emerged victorious. Nexus lay defeated at his feet, his power shattered and his dreams crushed. With a heavy heart, Zephyrian looked to Krona, knowing that their journey had only just begun. "We did it," Krona said weakly. "But the world is still broken." Zephyrian nodded. He knew that they would have to rebuild, to heal the wounds inflicted upon humanity and the world itself. But first, they needed rest. Rest before facing whatever challenges lay ahead. As they stood at the edge of the cliff, overlooking a vast valley, Zephyrian felt a sense of peace wash over him. He had made a choice to use his powers for good, to save humanity from Nexus twisted ambitions. And although the road ahead was long and difficult, he knew that with Krona by his side, they could face anything. Temporal-Fusion-Sanctuary, the sun's dying light cast long shadows across the desolate landscape as Zephyrian and Krona stood atop a cliff overlooking a vast valley. The broken world stretched out before them, a testament to the apocalypse they had just survived. "We did it," Krona whispered, her voice echoing in the silence. "The apocalypse is over." Zephyrian turned to look at her, his eyes filled with a mixture of relief and sorrow. "But at what cost?" he asked, staring out toward the distant cities that still lay in ruins. "We saved humanity," Krona replied, taking his hand. "That's all that matters." As they descended the cliff, Zephyrian couldn't shake the feeling that their battle was far from over. The world was broken and rebuilding would take time, effort, and sacrifice. As they made their way through a valley, they came across a narrow tunnel leading to an ancient city, hidden for millennia beneath the sands. Inside, they found a vast chamber filled with towering statues and ancient relics. In the center of the room stood a massive artifact that pulsed with energy. It was the source of the temporal anomaly, the relic they had sought all this time. Zephyrian felt a strange connection to the relic, as if it had been a part of him all along. He reached out tentatively, his fingers brushing against its surface. The artifact pulsed in response, its energy flowing through him like liquid fire. Suddenly they were surrounded by Nexus forces. Scouring the ruins for the relic, Zephyrian and Krona fought back, using their powers to fend off the twisted creations that Nexus had unleashed upon the world. In the chaos of battle, Zephyrian felt a growing sense of rage. He was tired of fighting, tired of running, tired of watching the world crumble around him. Enough was enough. With a roar, he seized control of the relic's power, channeling it into a single, devastating blast that shattered Nexus' forces and left him vulnerable. Zephyrian approached Nexus, his eyes burning with anger and determination. "You will pay for what you've done," he growled, raising the relic high above his head. Nexus snarled, his twisted features contorting as he prepared to fight back. But Zephyrian was ready. He unleashed the full power of the relic, obliterating Nexus and ending the apocalypse once and for all. As the dust settled, Krona rushed to Zephyrian's side, her eyes filled with tears. "We did it," she repeated, her voice trembling with emotion. "We saved humanity." Zephyrian looked out toward the broken world, his heart heavy with the weight of what they had accomplished and the lives that had been lost. But he knew that there was still work to be done. With Krona by his side, he set out to rebuild and heal the wounds inflicted upon humanity, determined to create a new future for all who remained. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the desolate landscape, Zephyrian looked out at the broken world with a heavy heart. Krona stood by his side, her eyes reflecting a mix of sorrow and determination. They had come so far since their initial encounter in the heart of the city, facing unimaginable challenges and making choices that would forever change the course of their lives. The vast valley stretched out before them, filled with the ruins of once great cities. In the distance, they could see other civilizations struggling to survive amidst the shattered landscapes. They had a choice: continue on their own or join forces with others and rebuild together. Zephyrian glanced at Krona, his heart swelling with gratitude for her unwavering support and guidance throughout their journey. "Krona," he began hesitantly, "we've come so far, but there's still so much to do. I can't bear the thought of leaving you behind." She smiled softly, reaching out to take his hand in hers. "Zephyrian, my friend, we've faced many dangers together and emerged stronger for it. Now is not the time for fear or regret. It's time to face the future with courage and hope." Zephyrian nodded, his resolve strengthening. He looked out at the valley below, imagining a world where humans could live in harmony with each other and the land. A world where the power of the relic would be used for the betterment of all. "Let's go," he said decisively, turning to face Krona. "Together, we can make this world whole again." They descended into the valley, their footsteps echoing through the ruins as they made their way towards a nearby city. Along the way, they encountered strange creatures created by Nexus, twisted abominations that had once been human, but were now little more than monstrous beasts. They fought bravely, using every ounce of skill and power at their disposal to protect each other and push back against the darkness. As they ventured deeper into the ruins, they came across a narrow tunnel leading to an ancient city. The air inside was heavy with the weight of ages past, and the walls were adorned with intricate carvings that told tales of civilizations long gone. They followed the passageway until it opened up into a vast and ancient chamber, filled with shimmering light. At the center stood an enormous artifact, pulsating with energy. Zephyrian knew immediately what it was, the source of the temporal anomaly. He stepped forward cautiously, feeling the power radiating from the relic. Krona followed close behind, her eyes filled with a mixture of fear and excitement. "Zephyrian," she said quietly, "are you sure this is wise?" He looked at her, his gaze steady and resolute. "I know it's dangerous, but I can't bear the thought of keeping this power to myself any longer. Together, we can use it for good." With a deep breath, Zephyrian reached out and touched the relic. A surge of energy coursed through him, filling him with a sense of purpose that was both exhilarating and terrifying. He could feel the weight of the world on his shoulders, the fate of humanity resting in his hands. Krona stepped forward, her eyes filled with pride and admiration. "You have always been brave, Zephyrian," But now you are something more. As they stood there, surrounded by the power of the relic, a sudden rumble echoed through the chamber. Zephyrian's eyes widened as he realized what was happening. Nexus had found them. "We must go," he said urgently, grabbing Krona's hand and leading her out of the chamber. Behind them, they could hear the sound of footsteps growing louder, accompanied by the sinister laughter of their enemy. They raced through the ancient city, dodging obstacles and fighting off Nexus' twisted creations as they made their way towards the city's highest tower. At the top, they found themselves face to face with Nexus himself. His eyes glowed with malice as he reached out a hand, his fingers curling around the massive artifact that pulsed with energy. "You fools," he sneered. "You think you can stop me? You may have defeated my forces, but I am the master of time itself." Zephyrian stepped forward, his fists clenched in anger. "I've faced darkness before, Nexus, and I will do whatever it takes to protect this world from your twisted ambitions." Nexus laughed, a chilling sound that echoed through the tower. "You think you can stand against me? Your power is nothing compared to mine." Zephyrian braced himself, feeling the energy of the relic coursing through him. He knew he had one chance, one final act of defiance against the darkness that threatened to consume everything they had fought for. With a roar, he charged towards Nexus, his fists flying in a blur as he struck out at his enemy. The battle was fierce and brutal, each blow landing with the force of 1,000 hammers. Zephyrian fought with every ounce of strength and determination he possessed, refusing to let Nexus win. But no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't shake the feeling that his enemy was always one step ahead. Suddenly, Krona stepped forward, her eyes blazing with fury. She raised her hands, channeling the power of the relic into a brilliant burst of light that enveloped Nexus. He screamed in agony as the energy tore through him, his twisted form disintegrating before their eyes. As the smoke cleared, Zephyrian looked at Krona in amazement. "How did you do that?" he asked, his voice filled with awe. She smiled softly, her eyes shining with pride. "I may not have your powers, but I will always stand by your side." They stood there for a moment, looking out over the broken city, their hearts filled with a sense of accomplishment and relief. They had faced darkness and emerged victorious. But they knew that their journey was far from over. Rebuilding would be a long and difficult process, but together they would face whatever challenges lay ahead. As the sun rose over the horizon, casting light on the shattered world below, Zephyrian and Krona set out to begin a new chapter in human history. Together they would rebuild, heal, and create a world where all could live in peace and harmony. Their journey was far from easy, but with determination, courage, and the power of the relic at their command, they were ready to face whatever lay ahead.